Shapen, a soft loft, and it's caught inside the 10. Drew Estrada.
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
In the corner, touchdown. It's Richardson, Oklahoma State.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Here comes the Penn State blitz. Lots of running room down the sideline. Eric All, the tight end. Will they catch him? No! Touchdown, Michigan! And the lead with 3.5 to go.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
On the ground. Ebner cuts upfield. Tristan Ebner. High steps into the end zone. Baylor capitalizes on the muff punt. And they strike first.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, good afternoon on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports, as we will take you around the country with college football yet again, and also have a couple of things on Dave Aranda, Baylor head football coach. A couple of notes in the NFL. Former Cowboys head coach Jason Garrett, no longer the offensive coordinator with the Giants. We'll also hear from Scott Drew today, Baylor men's basketball. Saw some pictures on social media of them in Bahamas. This long table with all these players and the staff, and the ocean is probably less than maybe 50 or 80 yards away from the head of the table. In the Bahamas, a gorgeous setting where they are as they play Arizona State tomorrow night.
Yeah, I wish I was there. I'm going to the Gaylord Texan, though, tomorrow, so it's like the Bahamas, but
Cha-ching.
different. Yeah.
We'll hear from teams we focus on today. Michigan, as they have the game with Ohio State, and Florida as well. Plus Tim Brando today at 5 o'clock will bring his fever and passion of college football. Those are a couple of the segments from today. Now, I want you to read this. This is a quote from last week. Craig Smoak to my right, Paul Catalina to my left. I want you to read a quote that was from Mack Rhodes last week, the Baylor athletic director, when he was on with us on Sikkim 365 Radio. And this is the quote. I don't work this way. It's not through agents. It's Coach Aranda and I directly. He doesn't work that way. We've certainly, I don't know that I can recall and count them, but we've had multiple conversations about this program, the future of it, about him, the future for him and his family, assistant coaches, their future, and doing all we can do to be proactive and make sure that as best we can, we keep what we think is something really, really special together and consistent moving forward. That's from Mack Rhodes last week with us. There's a couple of other quotes as well. That is not from today, that's from a week ago. I'm telling you right now that I think Baylor Athletics Administration feels better today than they did at this time last week when it comes to the future of Dave Aranda leading the Baylor football program. Let me ask you this, guys. One thing that Dave Aranda has pounded in media sessions, post-game, and with the time I've been fortunate to sit down with him one-on-one is keeping outside noise out of the program. That could be moms and dads. That could be media. He actually brought up the media for the first time I believe, in the game after the game against Kansas State on Saturday. That could be anything. Dave Aranda doesn't hang out on social media like some coaches do. That doesn't mean those who do are wrong, but that's not part of his MO. He wants the program to leave the outside noise outside. Am I right?
Yeah.
That's something you guys have heard. So if, in fact, for those who want Dave Aranda to someday come out and say, I am going to be the head coach at Baylor for the rest of my life, one, that may not be the case. Number two, what does he do if he comes out at any time, at least right now as the season continues? What does he do if, in fact, he comes out and says, I will remain the head coach at Baylor for the foreseeable future or for the next X amount of years?
Well, he sets himself up to be a liar. I mean, even if he doesn't intend it to that way, because what's true today is not always true tomorrow. And so if today that's what he believes, then tomorrow something can happen in his life. We don't know. Something can happen with one of those other jobs where he decides he really wants it. And I say today and tomorrow is loose figurative terms, but that's the case. It's really better not to say anything because people will not believe you anyway. Jimbo Fisher's done this 3 times throughout the year since Ed Orgeron's been fired. And even still, you see people going, well, Scott Woodward's still going to make a play for Jimbo Fisher.
And he specifically addressed even reasons why he would not leave, and yet there are still that bring him up as the leading candidate, or Dave Aranda, and or whoever else at LSU.
Yeah, I'm pretty over the whole thing, but I know it's going to continue on until every coaching job is filled. I again remain still more confident in seeing Baylor with Dave Aranda on the sideline next year than I do in not seeing it. That may have changed. The percentages may have dipped a little bit in regards to that, just because more jobs have opened up and more jobs that have, some appeal to them that could be, up his alley for for example, the Southern Cal job because of the location, the LSU job because of obviously his history there and the fact that both are blue blood programs. LSU a little bit newer on that block than Southern Cal, obviously, but yeah, it's unfortunate. He's kind of damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. I mean, if he talks about it, then there's that outside noise that he tries to hammer home to his team that they need to block out. So he's contributing to something that he directly puts in their heads to not listen to, which would, obviously be a little backwards. And he can say something today, and by tomorrow, USC might call and offer him $15 million a year for all we know. And would anybody be upset or mad at him if he took a $15 million a year job? No, you couldn't be. You couldn't possibly be upset at somebody because you would do the exact same thing. And the only reason anybody would say that they wouldn't is because they're a Baylor fan who would love and die and do everything for that school. But that's not Dave Aranda. He's not a grad. He's not from Waco. He's a football coach. Those guys naturally just move around. So I think, Dave Aranda is going to have tons of possibilities thrown his way so long as he keeps doing what he's been doing over the course of this season and even last season, even though the record didn't indicate it. The seeds were planted last season for what they're doing right now. So it's just part of the deal. And you can make 2 choices. You can either, as a Baylor fan, get all worked up and bothered by every single report that you see, and you can take Clown Guy 43 as some sort of super secret inside source and just take every rumor that you read as fact and drive yourself insane. Or you can realize they've got a big game coming up this weekend and Dave Aranda is going to be on the Baylor sideline. Beyond that, who knows? But for right now, he's the Baylor head coach, and I believe he's going to remain the Baylor head coach for the foreseeable future.
I'm telling you right now, I think Baylor Athletics Administration feels stronger now than they have felt even the last several weeks or even several days or even a week ago when it comes to Dave Aranda and Baylor. One other note, some of you, when I put up the guest list for today's show, and I got more, but some of you, when I put up the guest list for today's show, noticed, because he is clockwork when it comes to Tuesdays at 4:20, Mac Rhodes. There have been maybe every year 6 to 8 times he's not available. Couple of 2 or 3 of those times it's when he's at Big 12 meetings or something to do with what his other job is running, being a part of the Big 12. Sometimes it's because he's trying to get a break. Now, I do know this, that when he wants to take a break, all hell breaks loose, right? I mean, the Big 12 broke up, or the Big 12 with Texas and Oklahoma, and then some other things as well. I was told last week when we had Mac on the show that he was not going to be available next week. It's not because he thought there was something about Dave Aranda that he couldn't talk about. It's not because Texas Tech and Joey McGuire are on the schedule for Baylor. It's because he was going to have a day off, or at least get out, maybe get away just a little bit early, although he never gets to seem to do that.
It's Thanksgiving for everyone in the country.
No, it's not. Not when you have a coach that's on the,
Well, we get this too when we take days off. So it's Thanksgiving for everyone.
But I want to go ahead.
Yeah, I want to say this about Dave Aranda leaving. Most of the stuff you click on and read. There's a story going around from was the Advocate last night, Craig?
Yeah, so there was the Advocate had a headline, and I'm sure that the reporters, the first thing that they would do, and I haven't gone to check, but I'm sure for anybody who had criticism of the actual body of the article, it's the typical reporter thing. Oh, well, we don't write the headlines. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but you tweeted it out and you know what the headline said, and the headline was misleading. The headline said that Dave Aranda was the leading candidate for the LSU job. You click on the article, which is what they wanted, so they got what they wanted, and there is no substance to what that said. There is nothing but just, he could be a candidate for the LSU job. That's all it said. That's all it said.
That was what it said below the fold.
Yeah.
So like when you click I'm gonna give you a little internet tutorial here. So when somebody sends you a tweet that says that with a picture and an article, all that, just click on the article first and read the first paragraph. Because in the first paragraph will tell you what the article is really about. And that one, the second sentence was, Dave Aranda may be the target. So they don't know. Yeah. If you're going to say may be the target, you know who else may be the target? Literally anyone who's a coach.
I feel like, depending on what happens this weekend, Baylor and Texas Tech, if Baylor takes care of their business, and if Oklahoma beats Oklahoma State, Baylor's regular season is over, and I think you're going to hear even more news on Dave Aranda and Baylor. If Baylor gets in the Big 12 championship game, perhaps that's moved back a week or two. But I'm telling you right now, he's not leaving Baylor. I think Dave Aranda is going to be here for a lot longer than most anyone thinks, and I do think this. I do believe that there's 2 or 3 times every day that Dave Aranda and Mack Rhoades are on the same page, or at least sitting down to talking. Armstrong, go to quote number 3. Go to quote number 3 if you can. It's the shorter quote. This is from last week. The one, you have all 3 on the same time? Okay. No.
That's you're looking at the exact thing that's
yeah,
on the screen.
But I'm the one that it's a very short quote.
Right there. It's at the bottom.
Okay, at the bottom. Okay. Coach and I are going to continue to talk about the future of the program and his future and our assistant's future and how we continue to make our program continues to grow nationally, continues to be even at a higher level when we think about national relevancy. I am telling you right now that Dave Aranda is not leaving Baylor. I think Baylor's going to take care of him. I think they'll take care of him as soon as Baylor's regular season is over, and they've already taken care of him. Mack Rhoades last week mentioned different parts of his contract, certain clauses in his contract that kick in. So I know that you're going to believe the national writers because they have more information than we do. And I already saw one of you on the board say that I was teasing everybody by saying, listen, at 3 o'clock, that all we're doing is acting like you're dumbasses as fans. That's not what I do. I've never done that before, and I damn sure wouldn't come on here today and tease that we'll have information about Dave Aranda if I wasn't really sure about what I was talking about. Dave Aranda and Baylor are locked in. And that will also come about even more so whenever their regular season is over, in my opinion, from doing my due diligence. And if that's not enough for you, then I can't help you. Dave Aranda has told his team to leave the outside noise outside. Don't let it in. By even him coming on and saying anything to me or anyone else that, by the way, I am staying at Baylor, 1, doesn't mean that's necessarily true. And number 2, the most important part, because of the fundamentals of what his program's built on, is he's allowing outside noise to get in by even commenting on any articles about his name and a school. 254-339-1122. The chat room is open as well.
On the text line, we got a call, too. James says, I feel like there are way too many high-profile jobs open to keep Aranda in Waco. If Riley stays at Oklahoma and Campbell at Iowa State, which they've been there longer, then we're toast, and that's from James. James, I'll tell you this. I think the reason, and I'll use USC as an example, the reason that USC is kind of hard to pin down is that since Pete Carroll, they have not kept people there. Look, Lane Kiffin, Lane Kiffin was there, and they ran him out. And part of the reason they ran him out is I don't think Lane Kiffin really wanted to be there once he got back. Steve Sarkisian probably still would be there if not for his personal problems, but he had that happen. So USC for a long time hasn't known what they're doing, which means that it is not as easy as stepping into a situation and going, okay, this, and that. There's a lot of things under the surface at USC that really have nothing to do with the football coach. LSU, not quite as much. I mean, that's probably a little easier one. But, for example, Florida's a high-profile job. Florida's problem has gone back 3 coaches as well. So you can't just automatically think that you're going to step into a job and save it when 3 coaches have been bad. And if you're Dave Aranda, every coach that's been here before you, at least in the immediate, that you can, people can remember, has been successful. So staying here is the smarter play than going and trying to jump in the deep water.
I said this on the podcast earlier today. I don't want to hear anybody talking about like if they lose Aranda as though the program's going to fall apart, because you could have said the same thing after Art Briles left and Matt Rule won 10 games 2 years later. You could have said the same thing after Matt Rule left and Dave Aranda's in line to win 10 games 2 years later. So is it the program or is it the coaches? I think it's both. I think they've hired 2 really good head coaches since Briles' departure, and I think that they would find another really good head coach if Dave Aranda were to leave. Do I think Dave Aranda's leaving? I'm not nearly as confident as you are, but I also don't talk to the same people. I think he's staying and he will be here next year. I do believe that. Beyond that, I have no idea, and quite frankly, I don't even care at this point, because we're going to cover a football team regardless of who the head coach is, just like we've done before Aranda and like we'll do after Aranda. I think he's a fantastic head coach. I think they're going to be big winners so long as he's around forever, however long he's around. And I hope it's a long time, because I think he's different in the best kind of way from the typical college football head coach. So I think they have something very unique, but you can understand why that uniqueness would be appealing to people on the outside. And it's just funny to me, like, this is just why college football is the way that it is. This is why the Blue Bloods are always the same Blue Bloods over and over and over again, because every time that they start to suffer a little bit, they go and grab the head coach from whoever's the hottest, lesser program. And I said this on the podcast today in regards to Aranda and possibly winning 10 wins like 2 others did right before him. If he leaves, not only do I feel confident that Baylor would find a good head coach, but I also think he's a great fit for Baylor. But at some point, and I think Art Briles did know this, and it just, the ending wasn't, his choosing. It was something that was completely outside of anything he could control. I think that somebody is eventually going to realize, hey, man, you ever notice how down in Waco, like, they're not lacking really in anything? They're building new facilities. Did you ever notice that, for a program that not many people thought would ever be worth an S, Art Briles went down there and won 2 Big 12 titles and 10 games on multiple occasions, a Heisman Trophy, and I think everybody would be in agreement and would really be lying to themselves if they don't think that Art Briles would have gotten them into a playoff in the next 5 years, had he not been fired. I think we can all agree that would have probably happened. So he did that. So after that, it's like, well, now they're screwed. So what does Matt Rule do? Matt Rule just comes in, has a bad first year because he basically forces a bad first year in many ways. Turns around, wins 7 games in a bowl game, turns around 2 years later, playing for a Big 12 title against Oklahoma, playing in the Sugar Bowl. He leaves. Oh, man, they're totally screwed now. They're totally screwed. They're not going to be able to make up for Matt Rule. Here comes Dave Aranda. First year, COVID year. Kind of self-inflicted in some ways. A year later, they're in line to win 10 games again. So eventually somebody, whether they have Texas ties or whatever the case may be, is going to be smart enough to realize, like, hey, imagine if somebody actually stuck around there for a little while. Imagine what could be accomplished rather than doing what every other college football coach does and just chase money and prestige because a bunch of coaches before them, created prestige and tradition at a bigger school. How about creating tradition at a different school? Everybody just jumps to the blue blood, and I get why. And look, eventually Aranda's probably going to jump to a blue blood as well. But there's all the makings to create a new one where he is right now. And if he doesn't realize that, but I think he does because he's smart, that may still not be enough. But for somebody eventually, I have to think that it will be. And when that happens, I think it's going to be a really good spot for Baylor.
One of the note that we got a bunch of calls to get to. Dave Aranda, the last thing he wants is anything to be said about him. The last thing he wants is attention.
Oh, I can tell you as somebody that's that way. I can't even imagine how much that's probably driving him nuts. I would be going insane being mentioned as much as he is right now.
And for him to even bring it up, I'm going to go back to what I said before, for him to go and bring up anything about his future with Baylor or any other opportunities out there is the one thing fundamentally within his program he has told his players, his staff, and anyone associated with it. Here's who needs to know: his players, his staff, and the commitments. That's all that matters. And I know you can speculate, and I know you can let an article because of who wrote it or where it's from. One of the other things that I want to say about this is that I see a lot of this, well, they don't know what the hell they're talking about, or that's but then a national story comes out and you, oh my God.
Oh man, you fawn
just
over
like you hate
Pete
ESPN,
Thamel.
but if ESPN writes a story, you go nuts over it. Like you're like it's like, oh my God. And what I'm saying is stop reading the clicks and views. Stop. And I'm not saying you will, and that's fine. And I'm not just someone said I'm being condescending. No, I'm not. I'm trying to be truthful. I do my due diligence. How many times do we have to tell you that? Paul, Craig, we all do. Dave Aranda is going to be taken care of. He's not going to leave Baylor. I'm not saying in the future. I'm talking about in the immediate future. He's not going to be anywhere but Baylor in 2022 and might be much longer than that. Paul, go to the calls.
All right, Bo in Oklahoma wants to talk Bedlam. Thanks for calling the BetUS caller line.
Hey, this has been a crazy year for the Cowboys. I've just been really happy this year. What do you think their chances are of beating Oklahoma, then maybe beating Baylor again? That'd be a dang good game in the Big 12 championship, and then winning that game and going to the playoffs. What do you think our chances are for if we run the table, go to the playoffs?
I think, Bo, I think that they're pretty. First of all, I think they're very good to beat Oklahoma at home. I think that, and maybe I'm wrong about this. I mean, it's certainly been true with Texas, and I think it's been a little bit true with Oklahoma. And we might see it, and this is the one school that really needs the veil pulled back is Oklahoma State, given they haven't beaten Oklahoma in a while. But I think the specter of, oh my God, Oklahoma's going to win another one. If they win this one, then they're going to win 6 more, and on and on and on and on. I don't think maybe he's worried about that anymore because they're not. They can win this one, maybe another one, Big 12 title, and then they're going to be gone more than likely. So nobody's really afraid of them anymore, and they don't play afraid of Oklahoma. Now, Oklahoma's really talented, but Oklahoma State, the way that they're playing on defense is better than probably most teams in the country not named Georgia on the defensive side of the ball. And Oklahoma has not really established any offensive identity. And this is going to be the 12th game of the year. And if they haven't done it by now, I doubt they're going to find it on Saturday. And that's why I think Oklahoma State's going to win. I'm sure it'll be a great game. And then if they win that one, I don't want to be the team that plays them necessarily, but Baylor does want another shot, and that'd be a great game. And if they win those games, I would have a hard time being the committee and going, no, Oklahoma State's got to be out.
Tonight, they're going to release the next 4. I would be stunned if Cincinnati's not a part of it. Maybe Michigan slides ahead of them. I don't know. But I do know this, that watch where Oklahoma State is placed. That's going to be very critical as well. That's going to be very interesting because they do have Oklahoma this week and then possibly OU or Baylor, who are both in the top 10, although Oklahoma slipped out of it last week after the loss to Baylor. Watch where everyone is placed after today, and that's something else we'll get to, of course, during the rest of this show.
I like Oklahoma State's chances a lot this weekend. I picked them to beat Oklahoma this weekend. I just think all the makings are there. You know, the game being in Stillwater, being a night game, just the way both teams have looked this season. If Oklahoma had more of their high-power offense that was a bit more proven and hadn't had its mask ripped off a couple weeks ago in Waco, then, maybe the whole Oklahoma State defense wouldn't be so much of a challenge. But given that Oklahoma has had some struggles offensively, that does worry me a little bit. And then, I like Oklahoma State against that Oklahoma defense. I think it's going to be a great game. I really do. I think it's going to be a terrific game. But I do like Oklahoma State in that one. After that, if Baylor doesn't have Gary Bohannon, I need to see more Blake Shapen to feel confident about their chances against Oak State. Otherwise, I would go with Oak State in that game once again. If Baylor's playing a backup quarterback against Oklahoma in a week later rematch, that would be a little weird. And I don't know how I'd feel about that one. We need to get to that point after Saturday. But I love their chances this weekend, and I think they have a great shot of making the playoff if they just handle their business and keep doing what they've been doing. The offense could still use some room for improvement. Not much to improve on the defense, obviously, but they're right there in the mix. That's all you can ask at this point, other than, obviously being undefeated, but they're as close as you can be.
254-339-1122. Our first guest is not till 3:45. Angelique Shingelis. She writes for the Detroit News, covers Michigan on the Ohio State and Michigan game coming up on Saturday.
All right, David in Tulsa, thanks for your call. You're on the BetUS caller line.
Yes, hey guys. I just want to first of all say you do a great job. And my question is, with the evolving that's going on in college athletics, primarily college football, I'm sure this has probably been addressed and I'm missing something, but could you guys elaborate on why we cannot have, like in the state of Oklahoma in high school football, we have 6A1, 6A2. Short story, Army doesn't have to compete with Alabama. Could you guys elaborate on that as to why we can't do something like that in college football?
Money. I mean, they want to spread out the money as much as they can. And, and plus politics. I mean, there's a myriad of reasons why, the big guys, are trying to, as much as they can, to separate from the little guys and not share money. The problem is that there's more little guys than big guys that are going to politically tie it up for too long. So they just kind of, take their victories and losses as where they take them. But that's why. I mean, it's political.
I mean, I guess it's just money driven. I mean, I don't know. I think that some of those smaller schools would be hoping for that to be the case sooner rather than later, to actually have a legit shot at a championship. And I know that there's the argument that can be made. Well, look at it now. Look at it now. There's clearly only 4 teams that are above the rest. Can you imagine what it would be like if we invited 12 others that would have no chance? Yeah, it'd be like a playoff. It'd be like every other playoff in every other sport in the entire world, where they actually have a real playoff, not this invitational where it's an exclusive 4-team. What playoffs have 4 teams only in them? You have more than 4 teams on each conference in every sport in America. So, yeah, okay, it doesn't look like the eye test or on paper that Cincinnati would be able to compete, for example, with, whoever. And Cincinnati is probably a bad example to use. Let's say Baylor couldn't compete with Alabama. Okay, but let's at least see it. How do we even know? Like, that's a good way to always keep the blue bloods is by not even giving others a crack at it. I know that thing. I know that's the biggest. All right. That's the biggest fraud going on in college sports is the protection of the blue bloods.
All right, let me ask you this.
Because everything is designed towards that. Every single thing they do is designed towards about 25 schools that can take advantage of it.
All right.
And to your point about splitting up, that would drive me mad. And I don't know that we're not heading towards that point, because at some time in the near future, the way things are headed, some schools are just going to have to say, we can't do it. We simply cannot afford to keep doing this and try to compete with these other schools. And a lot of them already don't anyways, but they're hanging on to just be able to be serviceable enough. But I don't know how much longer they can hang on with as much disparity as there is.
How many leagues right now in professional sports are cutting back how many teams make the playoffs?
The NFL is expanding.
Yeah.
The NFL
Major League Baseball expanded.
Everybody is getting more and more in the playoffs because of money. Sure, but also because everybody knows when they tip it off or they drop the puck or they kick it off or they throw the first pitch, they have a chance to win a championship. It's fair. You earn getting to the playoffs by wins and losses during the regular season. There's no preconceived that the Yankees have to be in the playoffs. You don't have to have the Red Sox in the playoffs, although both of them usually are.
Think
the
about it
Dodgers
this way.
or the Cubs. You earn your way in every professional league and in every, as far as I know, college playoff as well. You either get in by winning a conference or you get in by earning an at-large bid across the board.
Yeah, I mean, think about it this way. In the college football playoff system, the Tampa Bay Rays would have no shot at the World Series basically ever. They could go 162-0. But they're not the Yankees or the Dodgers or the Red Sox, who had a tougher something schedule and some game control and some, whatever we want to use this week. I don't know, man. Something's got to give. That's all I know. To your point, something has to give. Either there needs to be a split, and we do this to where there is more of an even playing field, or they expand the playoff. I mean, it's that it's one or the other.
And Major League Baseball is a good example of how they kind of fixed an issue with the playoff by adding a second wild card or adding the wild card, because you could have, back in the old days, you could have won 95 games, but if the team in front of you won 96 in that division, you weren't going to the playoffs, and a team could have won 88 in the other division and just been in a bad division, and those are the teams in the ALCS. Well, that's not necessarily right? The 2 best teams aren't going to get a chance to play for it. So, yeah, Major League Baseball's made sure that the best teams are the ones that are going to get in.
Well, hold on. I mean, let's see here. I mean, how could the Rays? They have a small payroll. They don't get big. How could they possibly?
Tiny little stadium.
They don't recruit well. They don't get 5 stars. They don't have 75,000 fans in the stands. They don't have $1 million boosters. How could they possibly compete? Oh, wait, they do. How do they compete? They're given a dadgum chance to. Mm-hmm. They're given a chance to prove it over and over again. And in college football, you're very rarely given that chance.
254-339-1122. Also, I want to get to a note about Texas Tech being Baylor's opponent this week. And there was the question about Joey McGuire. Joey McGuire will be anywhere but McLean Stadium on Saturday against the Red Raiders in Baylor. That was something that was brought up, and it was something I thought about as well. But that's all going to be handled very, very well. So that was another question. I wanted to throw that in as well. Paul?
All right, Anthony in Miami, then we'll take a break and come back and get a couple more calls. Anthony in Miami, thanks for your call.
Hi, guys. I have a question. This is a two-part thing I want to – first, I was actually listening to College Football XM Radio, and they were interviewing a Big 12 reporter recently, and he was saying that there's actually a strong possibility that Texas, even though they just hired him, they might fire Sarkisian after the season. And if Miami hires Cristobal, do you think he would bring in Sarkisian as the OC? Or that's two big egos that wouldn't work?
I actually don't think that Steve Sarkisian has that big of an ego. I think Mario Cristobal is going to be a stretch for Miami. I mean, even though if he wants to go there, it's because he loves Miami. It's his alma mater, and he wants to help build it back. But as you know, Anthony, they've got a lot bigger problems than the head coach, and they're probably about to go 7-5 and maybe fire Manny Diaz. So that I would wait on the AD before you start jumping to conclusions on that one.
No, I'm just asking.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying, let's say we hire the OC.
Yeah.
Hire the AD, which apparently it's probably going to be Tom Jurek. What is your opinions on the Hurricanes possibly getting Tom Jurek?
I actually, maybe he's pretty darn good. AD was successful at Louisville. I mean, I think he kind of got caught up in all the other stuff that was going on there with Patino and Papa John and left. But that's a guy who at Louisville built new facilities, which is what they need. And I think that'd be an excellent choice. You just got to wonder, where his head's at head coaching wise. And look, Andy, I really hope the Hurricanes get it right. I am tired of I do. I swear to God. We all three of us fan bases made some sort of stupid deal with the devil where we want the other ones to suck and it all overlaps. It's not working anymore.
You are lied on the
I'm not.
Dude,
I can't take it anymore.
I'm going to tell you right now, the team I don't like, they could suffer for eternity for all I care. They can lose 10 games every year. They don't make college football better to me. But I think the biggest thing with what you're asking there is Sarkisian's not leaving Texas this year. So I just think that they...
No, the report, the problem is this was a long-time Big 12 reporter, and he says he was saying he had reliable sources within Texas saying that they're going to fire him after this season.
I don't.
That's fine, and he's okay. That's if that happens, that happens. I'm just saying that I don't have that insight that he has, and I can only go off what I do know and how I feel about it. I personally don't see Sarkisian being gone after this year. He talked an awful lot today about all the things they're going to be doing this offseason, like forever and ever about it. So I think they're already building plans towards next year. And Sarkisian, here's the thing too: if you're Texas, what message does it send if you fire Sarkisian after 1 year? I don't care how much you money whip somebody. If you're saying, hey, come join us here in Austin, we're going to build. Really? You let Sarkisian not even have a whole year. How are you going to let me build? How do I know that if I stumble out of the gates? That's what they got to be careful of too. So, you can money whip people to death, but if there's no security, there's no security there. So that's, if that turns out to be right, then that's great, and that would be very interesting, and we would talk an awful lot about it. But just for starters, I don't see Sarkisian leaving Texas right now.
It's also not a good look for Chris Del Conte, who would have fired 2 football coaches in a year, which means then the president has to look at Chris Del Conte and go, why do we bring you in? It's to hire these guys. And, I guess, I don't know, because he hired Herman, right? Or was that the last guy?
No, I don't even remember. Yeah, no, because Del Conte wouldn't have been there that long ago, would he?
No, okay. Yeah, but I mean, it didn't work with Herman, and then his first choice doesn't even make it a year. Makes you question, okay, what's he doing?
No, yeah, because he just took over a little less than 2 years ago. So Sark was his big hire. But I do have some breaking news here as far as the coaching carousel goes. James Franklin has agreed to a new 10-year contract with Penn State. Penn State Athletics tweeting that out takes him through 2031. So there is somebody who has been mentioned quite often with the USC job in particular, and he has signed a new 10-year contract. The terms were approved by the Subcommittee on Compensation of the Penn State Board of Trustees today, and they've got the full press release with Vice President Sandy Barber and the school president and so on and so forth. So there you go. James Franklin sticking around in Happy Valley.
Would make that buyout very prohibitive if it's 10 years long.
The Big Ten is taking care of business, and with Mel Tucker and now with James Franklin, and see what happens as we move forward. And Jim Harbaugh's had a pretty good year at Michigan, although the uphill climb with Ohio State and what they can possibly do as well with the Wolverines, what they could do with Ohio State, in fact, this weekend, because we know they've struggled with them quite a bit in the last decade.
Paul, what was that caller's name?
Anthony.
Hey, Anthony, depending on what happens at Miami, man, stay locked in and stay chatting it up with us. And, love to talk Hurricane football. But, I just don't see the Sarkisian thing.
All right,
thanks for the call.
We're going to take a break, come back with more. 254-339-1122. We'll have Angelique Shingalis. She's from the Detroit News, covers Michigan on Ohio State, the game, all that and more. 365 Radio and Sikkim 365 Radio.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac. Got a lot of great deals going on now at Richard Carr. Of course, the inventory is a little bit of an issue because of, the fact that it's an issue all over the country right now. Getting new cars and trucks onto the lot has been a bit of a problem because of supply chain challenges and a lack of microchips. But the good news is that GM is revving up production, and it's slowed down, but it's starting back up. Cars and trucks are, in fact, coming, so now's the time to contact Richard Carr and get your name on a new Buick, GMC, or Cadillac as they are being shipped. You can drive a new car or truck sooner when you get on Richard Carr's inbound vehicle list and get your car or truck first as they arrive. If you're looking for a pickup, we'll check out the Sierra. An ideal combination of power and strength combined with refinement and luxury makes Sierra the best truck on the road. If you're looking for a roomy SUV, then consider the Buick lineup of SUVs. Or maybe you want a combination of sophistication and power, well, then take a look at the Cadillac XT6 or the Cadillac Escalade. Cars and trucks are coming, so again, call or contact Richard Carr online with what you want and get on their inbound vehicle list today. If you're looking, though, to save and drive today, not worried about getting a new model, well, Richard Carr is loaded with premium pre-owned cars and trucks as well. Each of them go through a 172-point inspection before hitting the lot. So go online or come by for a test drive today. And for those in the greater Waco area, Richard Carr is your local hometown dealership. So give them a chance to earn your business with great prices, free oil changes on new cars and trucks, and superior service after the sale. Richard Carr Motors, owned, operated, and run by loyal and proud Baylor Bears.
Black Friday. It gets all the attention, but what about Truck Friday? Jay here from Pickup Outfitters, and we say enough is enough. Cologne for Christmas? What, do you want to smell nice when you hit a deer? I'll take a grill guard for $100 off instead. If your wife is thinking about getting you some slippers for Christmas because your feet look cute with bunny ears, you better put the brakes on that and send her to Pickup Outfitters. We got a truckload of specials for Truck Friday. Free installation on all bed covers purchased at Pickup Outfitters. Hard folding bed covers as low as $8.99. $300 off ranch hand front bumpers. $150 off ranch hand rear bumpers. $100 off any ranch hand or Frontier grill guard. $50 off any toolbox. $100 off RKI heavy duty toolboxes. A complete list of specials is in our showroom. Truck Friday is 8 days only from Friday, November 26th through Saturday, December 4th. Pickup Outfitters, 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco. On the web at createacommotion.com/Truck Friday.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, everyone. This is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like mortgage lending, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender. Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Call us on the BetUS hotline, 254-339-1122.
All right, quick fire here. Angelique Shingalis on Michigan, Ohio State in the next segment. Scott Drew today at around 4:20 from the Bahamas. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
All right, let's go back to the phones. And Martin in Atlanta, or maybe it's Martine. You are on the BetUS caller line. Thanks for your call.
I'm actually from China Springs.
Okay.
We had a pretty good game coming up Friday against Carthage.
Yeah, you do. No question.
But, it's going to be a real good one. I can't wait. So the question I got is, does the success or lack of success of Texas and OU this season, do you think that could affect or facilitate leaving the Big 12 earlier or right on time? And could one team be ready to leave before the other?
The last part I'll answer for you. I think that Texas financially is probably ready to leave earlier than Oklahoma. I think there's a lot to be worked out there. That doesn't mean Oklahoma doesn't have money, but I think Texas can write any check they want, no matter how much they spend. But the other, as far as does it allow, it's all about the money. You can't leave until you pay the fees, until you pay the exit fees, until you pay the penalties, until you pay the grant of rights at 2 years average and all that. Now, can that be negotiated? Sure. I get the feeling, and you guys can disagree or not, but I get the feeling the Big 12 wants both of them out by the summer of 2023, and I think that's when they probably think that's when they're going to leave as well.
Yeah, I think that's probably the most realistic timeline. I mean, I don't think the Big 12 wants to really drag this out. They got to worry about, what the house is going to look like after the guests leave. And they weren't guests for a large portion of this run, but they are now. I mean, they are. They're on temporary borrowed time. They're basically just renting out a spot until the new house is ready, right, that they're building. So, I think that timeline is probably most accurate. They're not going to leave without the other. I don't see a scenario where like Texas leaves and pays some buyout of gazillions of dollars and then OU sticks around for another year. That just doesn't seem realistic either. So, and can't be next year. I mean, how could you possibly do that?
Yeah, you got to make a schedule.
Logistically, it would be, I mean, from my end, I don't know how you would even do that. I mean, it would throw everything, including the Big 12 schedule next year, for a loop. So, I think the timeline is at least one more season, and then after that, all bets are off as to what those two do.
All right, Paul, 254-339-1122, real quick.
Josh in Washington, thanks for your call.
Mr. Cat and the two Smokes.
Hey, how you
What's
doing?
up, man?
How are you guys?
Doing well, thank you.
Well, to answer the last caller's question that he had, the lack of success for the Sooners is going to be put in pain on Saturday night up in the corral. And Oklahoma's going to take 2, win their 7, and march on. So I got a question for you guys. What is everybody most thankful for in this time of the year? Because the most that I'm thankful for is I could have been anybody in the world, in any country. And I'm so proud to be from the heart of America right there up in Oklahoma City and have the moral compass that my grandfather and my parents gave me and everybody around me and how I was brought up. And I love them. I thank them all for that. And I wish you all a very, very happy Thanksgiving. Y'all be safe. Go Sooners. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you very much. Good luck this weekend. Yeah, good luck.
Yeah, I think if Oklahoma takes 2, that would be remarkable. If they are able to, if they beat Oklahoma State this Saturday, I'm not going to be surprised by that. I'm not going to be surprised if they win that game. But if they were able to do it 2 weeks in a row, that would be kind of shocking. If they're able to pull that off, then Boomer freaking Sooner, and they probably should deserve some playoff love for that if they're able to, pull that around. But as far as being thankful, I'm thankful for health. I'm thankful for family. I'm thankful for being from this great country, just like you said. I'm thankful for just the blessings I have in life, which are numerous. I don't have it all, but that's all right with me. And what I do have, I love. And I love it dearly, and will fight tooth and nail for it. So I'm happy with family, friends, a great job with a great boss, and it's amazing how much that group of bosses, I should say, and it's amazing how much of a difference that alone can make in somebody's life. So thankful for Sikkim 365. I'm thankful for this YouTube show and all the number of people that are all across the country and in some cases the world who are now tuning in and interacting with us, whether it's positive or negative or whatever the case may be. Like, we're just people who love college football that had a great opportunity after a lot of years of hard work, and the timing just happened to be right to be here talking to you all. We don't take it for granted. I can certainly tell you I'm not somebody who's ever going to have a big head over it or act like we're some big deal. Mm-hmm. That's not ever going to be the case with me or I think with any of us. So, thankful for all y'all out there and for those behind the scenes that mean the most to me.
I don't know if I can say anything better than what he just did. Yeah, and what we've experienced, which can be a part of your mental health and how you feel about being in life, is since what happened in March of 2020 compared to where we are now with this. It's hard to explain, but we've tried to over the years. But thank you, Craig. I don't think anyone can repeat it better than you just did. All right, here's what we'll do. Coming up next, Angelique Shingalis on Michigan and Ohio State. We'll have at 4:05 or so, Edgar Thompson on Florida's coaching search. Scott Drew from the Bahamas at about 4:20 or so. And much more to come, including Tim Brando today at 5. And this is Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Look, we're a little up against the clock here, so I'll make it quick. BetUS.com is the 3-decade leader in sports betting. And if you use our promo code, Sikkim125 or Sikkim200, 125% bonus on cash, or 200% bonus on your first deposit with crypto, you're going to get a huge amount of money just based on what you deposited to move forward and make some good bets. It's a great time. This is a great week for betting. You got 3 games on Thanksgiving in the NFL. You've got 2 games in college football. You've got college basketball tournaments all over the world right now, in the Bahamas, in South Carolina, and Las Vegas, all of Maui, all those places going on right now. Tons of stuff to bet on. Great stuff to bet on. Great way to make money. Great way to have some fun over the holiday weekend. BetUS.com. Use promo code Sikkim125 or Sikkim200.
It's the Black Friday sales event going on now. Come see the beautiful, elegant third-row seat Jeep Grand Cherokee L in stock at Allen Samuels. The 2021 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo or Limited has total values of $3,500 or 0% for 72 months going on now and no payments for 90 days. First responders get an extra $500 cash. Allen Samuels, located at 201 West Loop 340 in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright.
So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfection pizza. Like loads of premium toppings like crispy Old World pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, and fresh sliced veggies pizza. That's Marco's Pizza. Visit marcos.com and make any moment better. And with 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
All right, the game. Ohio State, Michigan coming up Saturday with so much on the line. Ohio State just destroyed Michigan State. Michigan next. Wolverines are having a year, having a heck of a run. Jim Harbaugh, Angelique Shingelis from the Detroit News joins us, covers Michigan, and with us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Angelique, I know what I saw from Ohio State, and they were explosive. Is this more of an opportunity for Michigan to finally break the drought, or is this going to be an uphill climb in your opinion?
Well, I think you could definitely argue both. I think that Ohio State is just so impressive on offense. I mean, all those weapons they have at receiver, and C.J. Stroud coming along the way he is. I just look at that and go, how do you beat that? And obviously they were beaten once this year, but that was early in the season before they got their defensive issues straightened out. But I do think Michigan has built this incredible confidence. They lost that game at Michigan State, and then they turned it on to this, okay, this is playoff time. Every game's an elimination game. And they've really focused on that. And I think that they are really taking that confidence and that balance and the fact that they finished in November at Penn State, which is something this team has not done under Jim Harbaugh, I think that's really carrying them a long way, and they definitely think they have a very good chance of that upset on Saturday.
How big is this for Jim Harbaugh individually in that if he could go wind up losing this game and going 10-2 and having people mad at him because even though he did win 10 games, the 2 he lost were the rivals.
Well, you must know Michigan fans if you have that understanding, because that is a big deal here, obviously. And look, the streak, Ohio State's had the better of Michigan for the last 2 decades, so that's not all on Jim Harbaugh. But he is 0-5. They've had some close finishes. I mean, not recently, but 5 years ago, there was a double overtime game, and so he's been on the cusp, but not lately. And yeah, coming into this season, I thought that this was a 2-year window that Ward Manuel, Michigan's AD, kind of gave Jim Harbaugh with that contract extension that was half his salary but loaded with incentives. And I think that Harbaugh has really generated so much goodwill this year, being a little bit more engaging during press conferences, trying to be kind of like his old self when he first got the job, when the Michigan fans were just crazy about him. So I think even if they lose to Ohio State, I think people like where this program's going, where it's headed, and the changes he made in the staff. So I think he survives another year, and the next year I think is really to prove it, or maybe it's time to move on here.
Angelique, obviously the matchup of Ohio State's offense versus the Wolverines' defense is the one that a lot of people are talking about. I mean, C.J. Stroud has really come on strong to be, probably one of the 2 Heisman favorites at this point, and their receiving core is just absolutely ridiculous. How do you think Michigan matches up defensively, and what are you eyeing most as far as that matchup goes?
Well, I think they match up better than Michigan State did. Michigan State has the worst defensive secondary in the country, pass defense, and Michigan's is good. I mean, they haven't been tested. They have certainly not seen a team like this, and a quarterback like this. There's no comparison in these previous 11 games. But I think that the difference with this Michigan team is, previously the last couple of years, Don Brown was in charge of this defense, and I think everybody saw what happened in those last 2 games played. Obviously, they didn't play last year, but this is Mike Macdonald's first year. He has really done a tremendous job. I thought he would be Michigan's Broyles candidate, Josh Gaddis, the offensive coordinator, but Mike Macdonald has done wonders. He came from the Ravens, had never coordinated defense. He disguises a lot. I think that they are really going to make an effort to rattle C.J. Stroud if that's possible, and if they can do that with their edge rushers, particularly Aiden Hutchinson and David Ojabo, but Hutchinson, I think, is the key guy here. And I think the back end of the defense, I just don't know that it's been tested enough to know for sure if they can hang. But I think that they've gotten a nice performance recently from DJ Turner, a cornerback who's moved into a starting role. He had the pick 6 last week against Maryland. And Dax Hill is a guy who I think is, he's maybe not put up the numbers that a lot of people in the defensive secondary have across the country, but he is really their key guy there. And I think if those 3 players, they obviously need a whole 11, but if those 3 can really step out and have those kind of monster games, I think they can keep it close. But it's just hard to say because no one has seen a team like this Ohio State team this year.
Angelique, I know that any rivalry has controversies. Any rivalry has dramatic endings. I think the anniversary of Desmond Howard's punt return might be today when they beat Ohio State, and he basically emphatically did the Heisman pose. But take us back. I think I saw you had done a little work on 2016, Michigan and Ohio State double overtime and the 4th and 1 play. How much is that still very much like an angry thing for Michigan fans?
It really is. I mean, I talked to Chris Wormley, who was on the field trying to stop. He believes he stopped JT Barrett short on that play, and he just. I mean, he can joke about it. It still hurts. It stings him, but he'll joke about it. He'll just pop up on Twitter with just a random hashtag JT was short, and that gets the Michigan fans going, and certainly the Ohio State fans. But I think when they look back, like I spoke to Jake Budd, who was also a captain on that team along with Chris, they really thought they'd won that game. They thought they were going to change the course of the Michigan football program. And really, you can't look at that and think, okay, if Michigan wins that game, if that call is made that he was short, Michigan wins, the narrative quite possibly changes for Jim Harbaugh. He gets that win over Ohio State in his second year. And then, maybe that spirals into adding a couple 5-stars and recruiting, changing that narrative. And, it went the other direction. I mean, they got blown out in a couple of those games late, obviously under Don Brown's defense. And, but, it was fun. It was fun talking to J.T. Barrett. And he said people he goes to autograph shows and people will ask him to sign, I got the first down, things like that. So there were a lot of other calls. There were a lot of other first downs that were not made by Michigan in that game. But that's the one that people are going to talk about, I think, for a long, long time.
How much does the fact that this game is in Michigan help them tomorrow, if at all?
That is a great question because apparently a lot of Ohio State fans purchased tickets early in the season off the secondary market. I think there were a lot of Michigan fans who were not certain about returning to the stadium this year, still, with the COVID issues, did they want to be there? So a lot of tickets were sold early, and I think that there's going to be a lot of Charlotte in the stadium, and that's been more the case than not the last few years. A lot of Ohio State presence. So yes, it's a home field. Yes, there will be Michigan fans will outnumber Ohio State, but I don't think it's going to be crazy. I think that it's going to be close to probably 60-40, and I think it helps. I think these guys have been on the road the last 2 weeks, the Michigan players. They are looking forward to coming home. And there's a senior class that, they really want to be the first group to get that win and say that they beat Ohio State because, as you know, it hasn't been done much around here.
Angelique, thank you as always for your time and insight. Michigan and Ohio State in Ann Arbor on Saturday. For the game, and that, by the way, that game kicks off I think the same time as Baylor in their game at home against Texas Tech. What a rivalry! I grew up with a lot of incredible rivalries back in the day. The Michigan Ohio State, Bo Schembechler, Woody Hayes, obviously Army Navy, but the one that has kind of faded is that USC and UCLA game that used to be such a big deal as well, and some are no longer in existence, like Nebraska-Oklahoma is now just a non-conference game. When we come back, Edgar Thompson covers Florida, the Gators, for the Orlando Sentinel. It's been a couple of days since Dan Mullen was fired. Yesterday, players talked, among others, and we'll get his report next on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
If you are looking to buy a new home or sell the one that you're in, or probably both, look, right now it's a seller's market. You need someone to help you find the best price and then find a great price for you on a new dream home for you and your family. You need to call my friend Lance Donaldson and the Donaldson family team, brokered by eXp Realty, at 254-214-3713, or online at lancedonaldson.exprealty.com. There's still a for sale by owners right down the street. I see it when I walk the dog. And it's been there for over a year now. It's been vacant for a couple years, but for sale by owner has been there for over a year now. You don't do for sale by owner because a guy like Lance can get somebody in the door to look at that house, get it sold for you, get it off of your books and on, and you get that money, and you can do with it what you will. So go find a guy like Lance Donaldson. And as a matter of fact, find Lance Donaldson at 254-214-3713 or online at lancedonaldson.exprealty.com.
It's Baylor football season, and as always, Berg Colgin Ford supports the green and gold. Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Berg Colgin Ford. It's time for team celebrations and BU touchdowns. Berg Colgin Ford is your home team when it comes to trucks and tailgates. Ford has the perfect truck for you to host a top-ranked tailgate party. Here's to a winning season for our hometown Bears. Visit us anytime at bkford.com. Buying made simple at BK Ford. Sick 'em Bears.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Don's Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don's Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Masters of barbecue, kings of crazy good food, and the perfect sanctuary for sports, beer, and barbecue is Coach's XXX Smoke on Austin Avenue in downtown Waco and also on Highway 84 in McGregor. A menu filled with choices like a great offensive playbook, including 3 meat combos with sides, burgers, and sandwiches, wings, loaded giant spuds, and salads, crazy wings, chicken poppers, big boy fries, and smoking quesadillas, just some of their amazing appetizers. There's Coach Big Ol' Draft Beer, or order Zach's Spicy Bloody Mary or Coach's margaritas and mimosas while watching your favorite team play. Great pecan smoked barbecue, fun atmosphere with attention to detail, including a catering menu, and we'll quote your price to fit your budget. Coach's XXX Smoke on Austin Avenue in downtown Waco, and walking distance to the great places to shop and enjoy, and also the original location on Highway 84 in McGregor. Great food, great price, great fun. Eat where the locals eat.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco, is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Bazelak in trouble, lofts it up to the end zone. They got it, touchdown. Tight end, Daniel Parker. And this one is in the books. Missouri wins it by 1.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now, here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
We will hear from Baylor men's basketball coach, national championship coach Scott Drew here in about 15 or 20 minutes. Edgar Thompson, Orlando Sentinel, covers Florida. He's been on with us before on 365 Sports and Sikkim 365 Radio. Well, Edgar, I guess that time came. You told me yesterday you were spending time, I guess, talking to players and such around the program. What was mainly the reaction you had or received yesterday on the firing?
They were pretty blindsided by it. But, you know, they get that bunker mentality, man. They don't really see it from, like, the outside. They don't see it from, like, the fan perspective or the media, like, you know, looking at how things are like declining. They're just practicing and trying to improve, and they knew they weren't doing well, but they also know they played in 3 straight New Year's Six bowls, even though the last showing was the Cotton Bowl, which was a debacle. But they feel like, hey, the program's done pretty well under Dan, right? Having a bad year, but they don't understand the business quite as well. Now, I don't know that I understand the business all that well sometimes either. Because to me, it's like this, you know, really just like a stretch of bad games, and that was enough to get rid of them. And then you talk to Scott Strickland, and you start to realize there were maybe some deeper concerns foundationally, systematically, and they felt like, look, we need to get someone in here to address those other areas. Yeah, Dan's a great offensive coach, guys. I don't think anyone's going to dispute that, even though the offense has kind of petered out of late. And part of that's because the Emory Jones quarterbacking has been subpar, and I don't think he trusts the kid. But you just can't, like, that isn't the whole program, scoring points and putting out an entertaining product. It is recruiting, which Dan was pretty lackluster at. It is presenting well. It's being predictable for your boss, right? You don't need a guy who goes out there and you're like, what's he going to say this time? I mean, he isn't Lane Kiffin on Twitter, but out in front of a damn microphone, you just don't know what Dan's going to do or say, or, whether he's going to be in a decent mood or upset or petulant, making excuses or something. So I think it run its course. It's hard. It's crazy to say that after, less than 50 games or whatever, it ran its course, but it did.
Edgar, I don't know, and I've seen the coaches come and go at Florida that have. Ron Zook went out and won his last game against FSU. Jim McElwain.
I was there.
Yeah, so Jim McElwain and Will Muschamp both went out fighting. I don't know if I've ever seen what happened on Saturday night happen with not just Florida, but any coach, but I'm just comparing it to the others, where Dan Mullen at the end of that game played for overtime when he had significant time to at least attempt to get in a field goal range, and then that kind of bled over into the overtime where Missouri played to win, and Dan looked like he was kind of done with it then.
There was something to be said that Dan seemed to just almost lose interest on some level. Just the sense of it. He would push back on that, I'm sure, if he was truly honest. I think he kind of got beaten down by some things. I think facilities ultimately frustrated him, as they have every coach for the last 4 now. There was rumors at the time when Urban left, indoor practice facility, he'd won it for a few years up to that point. It was like, man, I'm not getting what I need. And plus he's melting down, So it's like he took that year off, went to Ohio State where they give you everything. Muschamp, no indoor. Finally McElwain came and got an indoor. But then the standalone he was pushing for that, and here we are. That still isn't here. It opens in the spring. So the next coach is going to get a standalone that Dan Mullen broke ground on, essentially. He's over there with a hard hat and a shovel, and now he's not even going to get to use it. So there were some frustrations with that, and I think, he just got worn down by the fan base and going out every week and people wondering if, what's wrong and do you feel like your job's safe? If that started happening after the South Carolina loss, that stuff wears on a guy quickly, even the guys that make $7.5 million. But what I'll say at the end of that game, to my point about Emory Jones, I think Dan lost trust in Emory Jones. He didn't trust him. He felt like we're going to play for OT. We got a great trick play with Trent Whittemore, which worked to perfection. That was his last play call for the Gators. It was a trick play that worked perfectly. But then they didn't go for 2. You're on the road. Go for 2. Go for the jugular. They didn't. Missouri did. Won the game.
So, Edgar, Greg Knox now takes over. I realize there's a lot of moving parts. So what does the staff look like heading into the game with the Noles?
It's a train wreck, man. It's a skeleton crew. It's like there's no defensive coordinator you start the season with. They got a 31-year-old guy doing that. It seemed like, I tell you, they came to play against Missouri. I'll give the Gators credit for their effort level and energy. They played pretty well there defensively. But again, the key breakdown. They end up with a defensive end pass rusher, guarding a guy on a 41-yard touchdown, right? They commit an interference penalty, Trey Dean, who has had just 4 years of nothing here, and he commits a bad penalty to keep a drive going and give them that shot at the field goal, which they missed somehow, Missouri's kicker. Guy missed one kick all year and missed that one. And gave him another chance, and then they couldn't capitalize. So, they have Paul Pasqualoni involved. And Paul Pasqualoni, I covered him when he was with the Dolphins 12, 13 years ago, and he was old then. I'm not an ageist here, but a 73-year-old guy on the sideline, that isn't really like the best deal at this point in the game at this stage. Not that he's going to be around after this.
How much?
They got guys moving up from the support staff. I mean, they're just piecing together a staff. Bottom line.
All right, Paul knows this. He's a Florida State alum. But my question is that Florida State, and Miami are a mess. How much does that hurt them, all of them, when all of them aren't very good, or does it?
It's terrible. I mean, I used to live in New Mexico. I covered Dave Bliss, in fact, for 4 years. I'm sure, I don't know if I should mention his name on the air. He turned out to be a huge disappointment, but more than that. But, yeah, I was out there, and that was amazing football being played across the country. I would get up and it'd be at 10 o'clock, Mountain Time. I watched some unbeaten Auburn play in the Swamp, man, on a kind of a foggy day. It was an amazing game, 36-33. I remember that game. It was 1994. I mean, this was great football from afar. You're like, man, I wish I lived in Florida for that. And then you get here, and it's like, okay, what happened? Now, I did get here for Miami's last national title, but the slow decline began, other than Urban, and then the one a couple years with Jimbo and Jameis. Otherwise, it's been pretty mediocre football for those programs. I mean, yeah, Dan had a couple of spikes there, I guess, but it hasn't been championship football in this state overall since the 90s. So here's what you got, guys. Third game in 3 years at the Swamp. Third time, at the Swamp now in a row where there's been an interim coach on one of the sidelines. 17, you had Randy Shannon for the Gators. 19, Odell Haggins. They didn't play the game last year. And now you got Greg Knox. That's where these programs sit. 2 teams with losing records, an interim coach. 17, 2 teams with losing records with an interim coach. I mean, it's unbelievable. That's where this series is evolved.
Yeah, somewhere the 90s are now completely dead. It's just hard to. All right, so when it comes to replacements, I know the fans are going to want Lane Kiffin or Mario Cristobal or someone like that. Billy Napier's a name that's been kicked around. I actually think he'd be a great fit in Gainesville, especially with what he does. But where do you think that Scott Strickland will lean as far as philosophy and leadership when it comes to that program?
Well, he better be a great fit because I think it's trending in that direction. And we're hearing, it's out there that Napier is there, they like Napier. I mean, there's on Twitter, but Twitter's so untrustworthy. My God, if I listen to Twitter, I might as well go freaking string a noose over the ceiling fan in the other room. But the way these fans treat me sometimes, but it's like, I think that Napier is a interesting and a choice with a lot of upside, but some risk. I think Mario Cristobal is expensive with a $9 million buyout. You're paying Dan 12 right now, plus a little assistance. Plus they paid paid $22.4 to McElwain and Muschamp. Can you just, maybe 45 in the hole before they even got the guy on campus. Right? So I don't know about him financially. Plus, he's an O-line coach. Great recruiter, though, and knows this state. Kiffin is a non-starter from everything we hear. He's not even on the radar. He might want the job, the Gators. It just doesn't fit. It's like I joked with someone last night. It's like it'd be like covering the Trump White House. It'd probably be entertaining at times, but you never know what's coming. And I do think that Napier might be the guy. James Franklin just got locked up by Penn State. Personally, I think the home run hire is Luke Fickell. But you convince him to leave the Midwest with his 6 children, move to Gainesville, to the Bible Belt. He's a staunch Catholic. He's a Midwestern guy. Does he really want to come down and live here? It'd be a great opportunity for him, but there's one waiting for him when the time comes for him to move. I'm sure he can get whatever job he wants. That's the home run hire. Because I think he's a program builder. Is Billy? Probably. He worked under Saban. He worked under Dabo. He has a great attention to detail, I'm told. He's all about, surrounding himself with an army of, analysts and support staff people. So that's where the money's going to be spent. But he's a $2 million guy at Louisiana, Lafayette. You could probably get for 5 here, but you're going to have to kick in a ton on his support staff. So it's never cheap. And maybe I'm underselling Billy in the market. The market's just crazy right now. Maybe he gets 6.5, I mean, gets it triples his salary. I mean, who knows? But he could be intriguing. He coaches offense. 42-year-old guy could be a rising star. I mean, he is a rising star. Is this too big a job? I mean, does he need an intermediate jump before that? I don't know. Virginia Tech apparently really likes him too. Maybe that's a better fit.
Edgar, as always, thank you. I know it's been a busy couple of 2 or 3 days. It's always been that way when you cover Florida. Thank you very much, buddy. Appreciate it, and have a great week. Good luck.
Yeah, man, hit me up once they make a decision. We'll do it again.
Absolutely. You got it. Thank you very much. We enjoy having you on. Edgar Thompson, Orlando Sentinel, covers Florida, and I thought he gave us some great insight on many things and how they are defunct, maybe in many ways, as they take on the Seminoles, who have gotten a little life back in their legs.
But if I had told you in 1996 this game in 2021 will be for bowl eligibility for one of the teams, for bowl eligibility, not which team might go into get the votes and go into the national championship. You're like, no way.
And if you would have said that about USC 96, if you would have said that about Nebraska, if you would have said that about Texas, well, then they were actually going through, they won the Big 12 title in 96. All right, when we come back, we're going to hear from Scott Drew. But Armstrong, do you have that tweet on the Coach Drinkwitz comment? You saw him pull out the saber right underneath his shirt after the postgame with Florida. Last year, Mullen kind of threw some shade at Missouri. Here's Missouri coach Drinkwitz on 1010XL explaining the irony of beating the Gators and Mullen after last year's near brawl. My father was a farmer, and there's an old saying, you reap what you sow. If you sow kindness, you reap kindness. If you sow jackass, you reap jackass.
I mean, there's not even anything veiled in that. But, that was the game last year where Dan Mullen, going into halftime, was trying to get his players fired up and was inciting the fans to get all riled up, and there was a near fight on the field.
Yeah.
And it was like one of those things like, man, Dan, what are you doing here? And so, I'm not surprised that happened. I think Dan Mullen's going to wind up in the NFL. I think he'll probably be a pretty good NFL coach, as a matter of fact, because he's a good offensive mind, and he won't have to recruit.
Well, when it comes to Drinkowitz's comments, he who laughs hardest. So, he definitely won that final round with Mullen. It's a really intriguing job. I'm curious to see if it is going to be Billy Napier or somebody else, but should be a good one this weekend. I mean, in terms of the competitiveness level, obviously not the two best versions of these programs that we're going to be seeing lining up, but all the outside noise and storylines and the fact that FSU making a bowl game would be a big deal for them, and Florida overcoming what they're dealing with right now, I think that would be a big deal, for those players in the long run as well. So, there's high stakes, just not the most high quality, but still, it's Florida State, so it'll be interesting.
Baylor's offensive line. You talk about what if somebody would have said that in the mid-'90s. If I would have told you a year ago, earlier this year, that Baylor's offensive line would be named a Joe Moore Award semifinalist of the most outstanding offensive line unit in college football. Criteria, toughness, effort, teamwork, consistency, technique, and finishing. They're a part of that list. The list, I think, has, there's like 10 or 12 teams on it. Baylor. And what a job by Eric Mateos and company by getting that. Jalen Petrie, a finalist for the Jim Thorpe Award. Thomas Everett won that with Baylor, remember? So he's a finalist for the award. Also, one other note, there was the Outland Trophy Award finalist. Jordan Davis of Georgia, Ekwonu from North Carolina State as an offensive lineman, and Tyler Lindenbaum, center from Iowa. Those are the finalists. The Biletnikoff finalists, Jordan Addison from Pittsburgh, Jamison Williams of Alabama, and David Bell from Purdue. Those are the finalists of the Biletnikoff Award as well. When we come... I vote for the Biletnikoff.
I don't know about that Biletnikoff.
I voted for them.
All three of those guys?
No.
Yeah, I personally don't like the David Bell pick. He's had a great season, but I think that there's others that I probably would have voted for. As a matter of fact, I don't have a vote, but I had somebody consult with me on their vote and just kind of trade back and forth. And I definitely had two of those, and I'm trying to think who my third one was. I think it was Stearns at UTEP.
Jarrett Stearns.
Jarrett Stearns. I said Jarrett. Yeah. Jarrett Stearns, who is like top 3 in basically every single receiving category, but he doesn't play in a Power 5, so I know that he's automatically behind the 8 ball as far as that goes. I'm sure it doesn't help that, Western Kentucky also throws like 6 touchdowns a game, and so maybe there's some knock on, not only who he plays for, but the way they go about things. I don't know, but I think Jarrett Stearns, and there was one other who I'm not remembering right now.
Who's the receiver from Southern Cal who's missed some time but put up monster numbers?
London?
Yeah, but he got hurt.
He got hurt. He was in the conversation all the way to the end, no question about it.
Yeah, I mean, David Bell's, I don't want to make it sound like he's not deserving. That wasn't the point. I had, somebody else on that list. But, that's good to see these are starting to get down to the nitty-gritty, and we'll see what happens.
I was going to get up the stats for the receiving, but we got to go to a break. Craig has Off the Radar in about 20 minutes. Coming up next, Baylor men's basketball coach Scott Drew from the Bahamas, the battle for Atlantis. They tip off just after our show tomorrow, in fact, against Arizona State. And that's next on Sikkim 365 Radio. Pickup Outfitters, Jay Errett, the owner, 220 Lake Air Drive. If you're looking for something unique for Christmas to buy, or maybe what you want for Christmas, this is a great option because they can help spice up your pickup truck, minivan, or an SUV. They have step bars, Nerf bars, running boards, bumper replacement, grill guards and bed liners, toolboxes, floor liners, lift kits, leather seats. Yes, they do. And catskin leather seats along with light bars, light cubes, and so much more. And they also, it always comes with that lifetime, the free warranty assistance, but lifetime installation guarantee if you buy the product from Pickup Outfitters and you have them install it. And one of the things that Jay did when he bought the business a few years ago was go in the back. It was already a nice business. Went in the back, and then their bays are spotless, spectacular. The Texans specialists are amazing. Pickup Outfitters, where you get what you want to put on your car, your truck, your SUV, and also with that, if you buy it from Pickup Outfitters and get it installed from them, a lifetime installation guarantee. Pickup Outfitters at createacommotion.com.
1, 2.
I'm in love with a man named Rudy. I'm okay with that. He knows exactly what I want. He keeps me coming back. Cooks breakfast, lunch, and dinner for me. Does the dishes too. I'm in love with a man named Rudy. Last name Barbecue. It sure is easy to fall in love with Rudy's tasty oak smoked barbecue.
Next in line.
New cars and trucks are coming. New car inventory is low, but GM just announced they'll release a steady flow of vehicles through the fall. Now is the time to get your name on Richard Carr's first in-line priority list and get a car or truck first. Call Richard Carr Motors or go online to discuss cars and trucks in transit today. Go to richardcarr.com for more details.
At Richard Carr, we give you more.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive. It's a staple of the Waco economy. And you're about to approach this time of the year where you have the holidays, special gifts. It's not that you don't have that every single day. What are some of the things you have coming up?
Christmas is the biggest time of year for engagements. You know, we kind of call ourselves the wedding ring store. We do all of our own custom work in-house. I've got 2 expert jewelers on staff every day. We can make anything from scratch. We kind of pride ourselves. Probably 9 out of 10, every engagement ring we do is actually made custom to what the customer wants.
People look at that, oh my God, I can't afford it. I can't afford something like that. You've shown me examples that you could fit pretty much any budget.
It doesn't cost any more to custom make something. You still have gold, you still have diamonds, and you still have labor. Best thing about a custom piece is if you have any old jewelry or heirloom jewelry or something passed down from a grandma or somebody, we can take that jewelry and use it towards your wedding ring for the sentimental value, and then you've got the product, and then it's just a little bit of labor and a little bit of design on your part of what you actually want.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
This segment on Baylor Athletics on Sikkim 365 Radio is brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac.
Baylor National Championship head coach Scott Drew with a Sikkim 365 Radio 365 Sports. First of all, I'm watching these pictures from you guys in the Bahamas at dinner on Oceanside. Wow. How glorious is it right now?
Well, I can tell you there's a reason people vacation here, right? So, but we got in a day early so that we could do that stuff. And then now it's a business. It's a business trip, and we'll lock in. And we've had success in the past on tournaments because we treat them as business trips, and we'll do the same. We won the Battle Atlantis before, and have a chance to be one of only us in Villanova with a chance to repeat. They're the only team that's repeated championship here.
That would be awesome. Now, there's so many of these, like, holiday-type tournaments around Thanksgiving or Christmas. How do you juggle an occasion, how you pick and choose which one you want to go to? Or is it the invitation and then you say yes?
Well, normally, Battle for Atlantis and Maui Invitational are prestigiously the 2 best tournaments. And with that, what makes a good tournament is competition. And you look at this year is no exception. I mean, you got Arizona State, who's had a lot of injuries early on. They're getting people healthy now. You got Auburn, Syracuse, UConn. I mean, you can just go up and down the list of Michigan State, quality teams. Last time we were here, we beat VCU in the first round, and it was a real close game. And VCU's a great program, as is Loyola. So great competition, great TV exposure. And obviously, Atlantis is a great place for our players to experience.
Absolutely, boat race Stanford. I know that's been your rearview mirror, but defensively, how you squeeze them in the second half. How impressed were you, and is that the kind of ball that Baylor's now getting used to playing all the time?
Well, it's hard to beat anybody by 40, let alone a Power 5 team. So I think a perfect storm for us. We really not only defended well in the second half, but we got some turnovers that got us out in transition, and then we finished at a high rate, which got the crowd involved, and then you get that perfect storm. Stanford was a younger team, so being on the road, it's a little tougher to overcome that when you get the crowd and the home team playing like we were. So here, Battle for Atlantis, everybody brings good crowds, and it's a ballroom, which is a different shooting venue and a different setup, and something that is unique to here. And I remember the last time we were here, we didn't really shoot it that well. So today we'll do a lot of shooting because we get the court one time before the game. Hopefully that pays off tomorrow.
Now, is Kendall Brown even further ahead than you might have thought he would be?
Yeah, I think Kendall and Jeremy and Langston, before he got injured, because of first of all, their makeup as players. They know who they are. They know to play to their strengths. They don't try to do too much, and because they can play within their role, that allows them to play earlier. Normally, freshmen that might not know their game as well, they might take bad shots. They might not defend all the time, but those guys have been coached. They've come from great programs, from Lafayette, from Sunrise, Christian, Mount Verge. So, I mean, they played high level and been coached and been in games where you have other great players around you, so you need to play to your strengths and just not try to do everything.
So, Arizona State tomorrow night, your thoughts about the Sun Devils? You've played them before, but it's been a while.
Yeah, we played them in, it was a great tournament in California, the Wooden tournament out there, and that was when they had James Harden, and that was a great win. We played him in the NIT before, but with Coach Hurley, he's done a great job of bringing in players that can get their own shot and really explosive offensively, and it's one of those teams you can play good defense and they can make shots. So it's a team that gets on runs and they can be streaky. So it's real important that we start out fast and make everybody as tough as possible, because it's a team that in spurts and runs.
You have players from last year's team who are back. There's obvious names. But when do you find out about who the leaders might be? Who's the crunch time guy? Will that take time, and especially with what you're about to face?
Well, I think definitely that's why you play these kind of tournaments, because they prepare you for Big 12 basketball. They prepare you for your games coming up with Villanova and Oregon. And at the end of the day, because we've had some injuries, really it affected us with our chemistry rotations and just being able to figure that stuff out in October. And still Adam, we're trying to get back in a flow where he's able to practice and play all the time. And then once that happens, knock on wood, we don't have any other injuries. We'll be able to figure out closing lineups and who performs well and best in crunch time with who. But until that time, it's putting things together, and the good thing is hopefully you keep that margin of victory pretty big, so it doesn't come down to one possession, because anything can happen in one possession, as we know.
I thought your message to Dickie V on social media was really cool. Whose idea was that?
It's probably just a team thing. So I know he's done a lot with the Baylor Bears, and I remember when we played at Florida and we were ranked number 1, and he talked to the guys and gave them a great talk, and we beat Florida, and I think that was our first win, being ranked number 1, and really appreciate everything he's done for college basketball, and the serving he's done and everything he's done in the cancer world and the fight against cancer.
Hey, one more thing, Scott. You talked about it's obviously a beautiful place. The pictures are unbelievable, but it's a business trip. Is that sometimes hard to make it a business trip when everything around you is so beautiful?
Actually, I think that's one of the strengths of our team and our staff. We've had a lot of success in these tournaments, and I think it starts with the players our coaches bring in. They're guys that respect the team, value the team, and don't want to let the team down. So very focused, and they're here to play well and represent Baylor in a positive way. And a lot of times you go to tournaments and see guys at the pool, you see guys, we have a casino here, you'll see them at the casino, and our guys are mostly in the room resting, stretching, and doing what they need to do, and I think we've been successful because of that.
Hey, how about Baylor football? 9-2 with Dave Aranda. How often do you get a chance to visit with him at all?
Well, I after wins, I usually text him. He's unbelievable at getting back to people, but obviously I know how busy he is. So proud of him and the team, and he's established a great culture. They're fun to watch, but you just love how they all play for each other, and they're about the right thing. It's a great culture in a short period of time. I'm so happy for him and the way they represent Baylor University.
And your team as well, Scott. Thank you. Enjoy the trip and come back with some wins. Thanks for your time. Scott Drew, Baylor men's basketball.
Hey, if you get a chance, you're always welcome to join.
Well, hey, I think I need to make that happen next year. Wherever you guys go, Maui, Bahamas, My goodness. I talked to Lauren Smith, Mac's assistant, earlier today, and she told me she was in the Bahamas. I said, oh, my God, that's awesome. That's awesome that she's there. Yeah.
We got to get that done. We got to get that done with you in the future. All right.
Thank you, buddy. Good luck. Scott Drew on 365 Sports. All right, so we're going to the Bahamas if they're there next year, all of us. It's like just because. Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it. Unlimited large 2-topping pizzas, carry out $8.99 each. You can use a code HOT2GO. Also, $3 off large specialty pizzas. Order now if you want online. And unlimited medium 1-topping pizzas are $6.99 a piece. Download the app, get 25% off the first menu price that you order, and also the crowd pleaser that includes pizza, garlic sticks, salad, soft drinks, sandwiches, and even cookies as well. You can, by the way, for birthday gifts or even Christmas, send them an email to have delivered to whoever you want at a specific time. And if you want to be a part of what is a soaring franchise, over 1,000 stores now around the country, you can do that as well. Marco's Pizza, 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, Robinson, China Spring, and also in Woodway. Pizza lovers get it.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Hey guys, sports betting season is in full force with football season entrenched and the NBA and NHL underway and the Major League Baseball playoffs. You need a sports book with integrity and longevity like BetUS.com. BetUS has been pioneers in the sportsbook industry for almost 3 decades, thriving and paying their loyal customer base. That's BetUS.com, and they have loads of bonuses like ours at BetUS.com. 125% bonus on promo code SICK'EM125 or a 200% bonus if you use crypto on promo code SICK'EM200. BetUS, known as America's favorite sportsbook. NFL, college football, MLB, UFC, PGA Golf. They've got it all at BetUS.com. So go to BetUS.com today and use promo code SICK'EM125 or SICK'EM200. That's BetUS.com, promo code SICK'EM125 or SICK'EM200.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strips, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sick'em sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for Craig Smoak's Off the Radar. Brought to you by Pickup Outfitters. Since 1997, we've been outfitting trucks, SUVs, and vans at 220 Lake Air Drive or createacommotion.com.
Welcome back into Sikkim 365 Radio. Time for a little Off the Radar as we take a look at some of the headlines going on around sports, some of the offbeat stories as well when those do emerge. But let's start off with a story that's not really that off the radar, although we haven't discussed it really at length, and that is James Franklin and the announcement that he has signed the new 10-year contract extension with Penn State and will remain there for the foreseeable future after being rumored to take a Southern Cal job like 5 different times over the last 10 years, it seems like. I mean, constantly being mentioned for other jobs, particularly Southern Cal. But he's staying in Happy Valley, guys, so that's one big domino that could have been, that never was, but could have been in the coaching carousel. We already had a bunch of dominoes. And James Franklin, while the Penn State job was never open, I mean, he certainly was rumored to be, the hot guy at USC or perhaps elsewhere. So instead, you can not only not open up the Penn State job for any speculation, but you can also shut out James Franklin and any speculation about Southern Cal or Florida or any other open job you want to mention.
Yeah, and his buyout, I would say, for the next 2 years is pretty prohibitive, but after the third year, there's no buyout, I don't think. So Jimmy Sexton's his agent. I wish Jimmy Sexton was my agent. Everybody should want Jimmy Sexton. Like, I know sports fans probably hate guys like Scott Boras and Jimmy Sexton and Trace Armstrong and name another super agent. They don't like them all. But I tell you right now, I mean I would give anything to be in a job where that guy wants to represent me. Yeah, no. Because here's my thing: where do you want to go, Paul? Well, I'd like to go to this place. All right. I'll call you back in a couple hours, and you'll have more money than you ever could know what to do with.
Or use that to get more money.
If they fire you, you sort of pay you.
So details of the contract: Franklin will earn at least $7.5 million annually, plus salary retention bonuses. Also get an annual $1 million loan for life insurance as part of the contract, and the buyout starts in April 2022 at $12 million. One part of this deal, and part of it is the buyout that I'll get to in a moment, but Franklin did release a statement. In it, he said that 9 weeks ago he was approached by administration about making a long-term investment in Penn State football. That started a bunch of conversations, and in those conversations he said that they outlined the resources that would be needed to compete at a high level that matches Penn State's history and expectations. So if you read further on one of the other school releases, in there it's mentioned name, image, likeness, and facilities, and basically all the stuff that you think a head coach would want, but NIL was definitely mentioned in there in particular, and so just sounds like, they went to him, they talked about all the stuff that he wanted, and they basically said yes to everything. Is basically what it sounds like. Now, in terms of the buyout, it does start at $12 million this upcoming year. By next December, so less than a year after that $12 million buyout starts, by next December, less than a year later, it will be $8 million. So it drops $4 million in 8 months, 8 months' time or 9 months' time. By 2023, that 8 that was 12 will then drop to 6, and then by 2024, that $6 million buyout is then $2 million for the next 2 years, and then the final 4 years or 5 years of that contract, the buyout is $1 million. So it starts off with the hefty 12, but it very quickly cuts in half in less than 2 years' time, and then even quicker after that, it's down to $2 million, and then $1 million for 5 years. But $80 million of his contract guaranteed.
Good for him.
$80 million. And I did see someone point this out because, it's a total college football reporter thing to do is like bash on something. The moment they get it is like turn around and make light of it. But James Franklin is 11-9 in the last 2 years and is signing an $80 million guaranteed contract. So that's where we are in college football.
Well, Mel Tucker got $95 million, and he got his got his brains beat in. I'm not arguing against the if it's there, take it, and good for him. But yeah, no, you're right. It's Aranda's 10-9, but is it 10-9? No, 11-9 now. But we understand that is something that's out there as well.
Yep. So good for James Franklin. Elsewhere. A lot going on in baseball. Rays signed shortstop Wander Franco to a 12-year, $185 million extension. Take that, James Franklin. Take that. 12 years, $185 million. The largest contract in team history for the Tampa Bay Rays, which is I don't even know where I would have guessed as far as who would have been the previous mark just off the top of my head.
Because they don't do this very often.
No, they do not spend a lot of money. They are notoriously very cheap when it comes to it, but largest in the history of the Rays dating back to their first season in 98. And here it does show it. Evan Longoria was the last big money contract, the last huge contract, and that was all the way back in 2012. So it's been 9 years since they did that. But yeah, 12 years. $185 million. It's worth a maximum of $223. That 185 is guaranteed.
And it's kind of a bargain at 185, given what Fernando Tatis Jr. got. This is he's the proper comparison. And Wander Franco didn't even play the whole season last year for the Rays. They called him up later. Again, that's all that service time nonsense. And he was one of their best players from the minute he hit the diamond there at the Trop. And how
many shortstop? This is one that's off the table now, right?
Yeah,
There's a lot of these.
And he wasn't really on the table, but because he was a rookie. I mean, he's a 20-year-old rookie. I mean, that's why he's a 20-year-old rookie. So he was never really on the table. But this is part of the Rays. Like, look, we've got to do this, and I do think that for the ownership, they have to make some sort of effort to keep their stars there, because the attendance is always going to be a problem as long as they're in that stadium, and so they've got to keep the fans engaged. And Wander Franco is a person, like, even if you're not a Rays fan, I'd want to go watch Wander Franco play. He's a fun player.
Yeah, they're man, Craig brought this up as the college football playoff. The Rays would never get invited, never be put into the Final Four, and yet every year, or not every year, but they always seem to be around that mix. And what a hell of a franchise. Good for them.
Baseball Writers Association of America has released their ballot for the 2022 Hall of Fame. There are 17 returning players on the ballot. There's another 13 players that have been added for the ballot this year that are newly eligible. Amongst the newly eligible, Prince Fielder.
There's certain. No, he won't get in.
No, I know. It's just
timelines.
I know, but he doesn't even need to be mentioned. I mean, it's just totally pointless to even mention his name. That's ridiculous. But amongst those that actually do have a shot at the Baseball Hall of Fame that are deserving of some type of mention, you've got A-Rod, although that won't be without its controversy. Jimmy Rollins, Mark Teixeira, Jonathan Papelbon, Jake Peavy, David Ortiz, Joe Nathan, Justin Morneau, Tim Lincecum, Ryan Howard, Prince Fielder, and Carl Crawford. Those are your newly eligible Hall of Fame.
You mean former Nebraska quarterback commit Carl Crawford?
Yeah. Yep. Rays great. We were talking about the Rays.
That's when things started sliding. Yeah. They had him locked in, and the Rays signed him. Is that where that's where he started. Can you imagine him running the option?
Oh, all right, great. But David Ortiz is and look, he's a DH, but now that Edgar Martinez finally got in, if they don't put David Ortiz in on the first ballot, they're insane. I mean, it's a guy who remade a franchise.
I don't think.
But do PEDs count, or do they not?
Yeah, I mean, David Ortiz is in the gray zone, as where Alex Rodriguez got straight up suspended for it,
Yeah.
And I don't think that I think that's just getting silly at this point, especially if A-Rod's going to get him with he's got 800 home runs or whatever he has. Not even that many, but he's one of the highest home run hitters.
What do both of them do right now?
They're both on TV.
That makes a difference.
Yeah.
We've seen the NFL with guys who have not gotten in. All of a sudden, they're on some of these game day shows and some of these analyst shows, and guess what? Someone's smart about getting them on TV, and they're both good at what they do as well.
Yep. So, Ortiz, you'd have him going in. Anybody else off that list that I mentioned? I mean, A-Rod.
Well, it's a hard thing, man. I'm telling you, I don't know who else is coming back, and we don't have time to go through that entire list.
Well, I mean, I was going to add that the thing about this ballot is it is the last opportunity for the Sosa, Bonds, McGuire trio to potentially. It's the last time on the ballot. So
Sosa, Bonds,
yeah. So they will be up for it once again. But I don't see why anything really would have changed at this point.
Clemens is out. Is he gone?
The Bonds, Clemens, Sosa. I said McGuire. I meant
Yeah.
Bonds, Clemens, Sosa are on their final ballot.
You know what I wouldn't mind, and I know that there are some that are fiercely against
And
this.
Kurt Schilling. Oh, if I'm fine about it, too.
You put Kurt Schilling, you put A-Rod, you put Ortiz, you put Clemens and Bonds, and I don't know, I guess Sosa. Just do it and move on. Just do it and move on. And I know some will completely disagree with me on that, but
well, it's that or just completely acting like it didn't happen and that you didn't put in a bunch of other guys who cheated and just never got caught because everybody knows that's the case. Or you do the whole
is
idea
Pudge
of
in the
this.
Hall of Fame?
Yep.
Pudge was very much a part of that concern, right?
He was in the Mitchell report, yeah.
Yeah, but that was about it. Like he never was like a big topic of conversation, but maybe the fact that he wasn't a fluent English speaker and didn't do a lot of interviews. He didn't get caught up in it the way that like a Bonds did or a McGuire did, or maybe they just weren't as interesting. I don't know, but Pudge never really got a whole lot of heat from any of that.
No, he was a very popular player. People love Pudge. Here's one thing from BW on the chat room. Sosa and McGuire saved baseball. Let them in.
Yep, they certainly make an argument for that.
And the owners turned their head and caught. Frank Thomas is a name.
Mm-hmm.
Is he in the Hall of Fame?
Yep.
Another guy. But he, again, it seemed like he kind of was never somebody linked to anything. All right.
Yep, so that will be interesting to see McGuire, Sosa, Clemens, if they're able to get in at this point with their last, looks like their last opportunities. And then some interesting names like A-Rod, who I'm sure we'll hear plenty of debate over, but that new ballot is out right now. Elsewhere in the NFL, the New York Giants announced today they've fired offensive coordinator Jason Garrett, former Cowboys head coach, has been relieved of his duties as offensive coordinator. Giants got beat up by the Bucs, lost 30-10 on Monday Night Football to Tom Brady and company. And he was with Dallas for a long time, but now back on the market after a short stint in New York. Your thoughts on Jason Garrett being out with the G-Men?
After that performance last night, I'm not surprised. Although the Giants' problem is not necessarily their coaches; it's their front office right now because they're not putting everybody in a position to win. And look, and you miss on things like Will Hernandez was a high pick and he had 3 holding penalties last night, and that dude, when he has a penalty, he makes them count. I think the only person penalized more in football is Connor Williams. So you've got that's a miss, and the front office is a much bigger problem for the Giants than their offensive coordinator. But not surprised seeing what's going on there.
He's always been more conservative than anything else. He plays kind of conservative. We've seen what's happened with Kellen Moore and the Cowboys offense. Not that the Cowboys didn't have dynamic offenses with Garrett, but you saw what he left, what Kellen Moore was able to do. And I always have liked Jason Garrett. But, that time, I wonder if he'll be a head coach again. That'd be interesting to see what happens.
I mean, he's young enough. I'm sure he'll get a crack at it. They go through so many retreads. Give him a few years. Let him, run a good offense, and he'll be desirable once again. Elsewhere, another NFL move. Adrian Peterson, already cut by the Tennessee Titans, was on their roster for just a short minute. Got active for an even shorter minute. He's played in 7 Pro Bowls. Got to play in 3 games with Tennessee, but that's now over. He only rushed for 82 yards and a touchdown on 27 carries. So I mean, He's been pretty much done, but it's hard to imagine him getting too many more opportunities at this stage. I mean, he's at that point of it's like he's a fill-in guy. When somebody gets hurt, and outside of that, there's just not a whole lot there anymore.
I'll say this. When he came back, and I don't remember when it was, and it might have been with Washington or whoever it was, and I thought he was done. He just looked kind of stiff, and he actually played well. And now, you're getting to a point. There's a team desperate for a running back. They have Deontay Foreman, who they can't always count on. Henry's hurt. He goes in. He's out. I'd love to see him. He's a guy I think you're going to have to shoot him to stop playing football, though.
Yeah, and I think he also needs the money, too. That's part of the problem, right? I mean, I can't even imagine what that feeling must be like to have played all those years for all that money and then to still be needing it by the end of it. But that's kind of the situation. I'm not sure. That's the last I'd heard, but
he can be on next season of Dancing with the Stars, since that's what he passed up to sign with the Titans. So.
Yeah, that's true. So I'm sure he'll be doing that. Elsewhere, Taysom Hill has signed the new 4-year contract with the New Orleans Saints. And what's interesting about this is it's what Adam Schefter calls a hybrid type of contract. It depends on where he ends up playing. how much money he gets paid. So if he is a do-it-all offensive weapon, then he could get paid up to $40 million in base salary. If he ends up being a starting quarterback, he could make up to $95 million in starting salary. So $55 million swing from being a role player, do-it-all, Swiss Army knife guy to being an actual starting quarterback. But either way, he's getting paid, so Taysom Hill's sticking around in New Orleans.
And it's weird how they do his contracts, which are salary cap wizardry there.
Who would have ever thought he would be a controversy in fantasy football? Remember how you could count him as a...
Do I remember? Yeah, I got screwed out of it. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
So Taysom Hill getting paid by the New Orleans Saints. Ish Wainwright, former Baylor basketball star. He's played in his first career NBA game just about 3-4 days ago. Last night scored his first career bucket.
That's awesome.
So Ish Wainwright now in the NBA record books, also had 3 rebounds as well. Only played in about 2.5 minutes in that game. But, Ish Wainwright, he's hanging around. He did the football thing for a little while and, found himself in the NBA when all was said and done, and now has his first career bucket. So I think that's pretty cool for Ish. And
good for him.
Excited to see what he's going to do with the Suns moving forward. But let's see his official stat line, 5 minutes, and this is from last couple nights ago, 5 minutes, 1 for 3, his first career bucket. Also had a couple of boards and an assist as well. So just a shout-out to Ish Wainwright for doing his thing.
His first sport that he competed in was swimming. He was really good at it.
You got those broad shoulders, man. Just looks like a swimmer.
And he's tall, so.
Yep, no doubt. Also, this is an interesting story. How about making a $50 bet and turning it into more than $1 million? Now, all you have to do is hit big on a 15-leg parlay to be able to do that. A bettor at the MGM, or I guess a BetMGM customer actually, who's from the state of Virginia, turned a $50 bet into more than $1 million because of a 15-leg parlay. It all came down to the final minute of the Ravens and Bears game. He was right. He was 14-0 on bets that were NHL-related, college basketball-related, even LPGA Tour-related. He was betting LPGA as part of this 15-leg parlay. But to bring home 1.1, he was relying on Tyler Huntley, Ravens quarterback, who had to come play for Lamar Jackson. Jackson was sick. Obviously, the Ravens struggled. Bears pulled ahead 13-9 with less than 2 minutes to play. And Andy Dalton was able to connect with Marquise Goodwin for a 49-yard touchdown. Huntley got the ball back. And he came through and led the Ravens to a game-winning touchdown. Devontae Freeman with a 3-yard run with just 22 seconds remaining. That was the 15th portion of that 15-leg parlay, and as a result, his $50 turned into $1.13 million.
I wish I could figure out how to do that.
Man, right?
I'll call our friends at BetUS and...
He bet on the Vegas Golden Knights, Cal State Fullerton, which I don't know, probably basketball, Rhode Island, I'd assume basketball, UConn, Miami of Ohio, Wake Forest, Michigan State, I'm assuming all those are basketballs, Atlanta Hawks money line, the Avalanche, the Capitals, the Patriots, the Houston money line, the OU money line, a Jin Young KO, and the Baltimore Ravens money line. So how he came to all that, I have no idea. That's why I'm not involved in betting. But kudos to that. Can you imagine making a $50 bet and then Tyler Huntley comes and leads them to that score and you win $1.13 million?
No.
That's just
crazy.
I can't even imagine what that feeling must be like.
If you got a check for $1.3 million, would you shake until it was deposited in the bank? What would you do?
I'd probably cry.
You know what I'd worry about? Like, my luck, I'm going to get it now when the bank's closed. And then I have to wait until the morning. I wouldn't
Monday.
sleep. I'd just sit there.
Yeah, I would just like, oh my God. Yeah. Okay.
And I wanted to end it on a happy Thanksgiving note. NIL's been talked about a lot, and a lot of people want to go immediately the negative part of it, although we've seen plenty of good come from it. And that is the case as well with Michigan running back Blake Corum. He got his NIL money, and he used it not on himself, but instead he bought 100 turkeys to give out from now through Sunday as part of his Giving Back to Give Thanks event. He had some teammates, Nikhil Hill-Green, helped distribute the goods along with him, said that he's always giving back, whether it's doing a football camp or some of the smaller things, said he's invested to give back to his community and wants the next generation to live out their dreams. So with Thanksgiving coming up, he was getting some good NIL money and told his dad he's going to buy 100 turkeys and give them out. So that's exactly what he's doing. They also gave away some sides like mashed potatoes and mac and cheese and all that good stuff as well. So pretty cool NIL story there. Big shout out definitely to Michigan running back Blake Corum for helping out some families in need and using his NIL money to do so.
Good
so there's a few things that are off the radar.
Yeah, this is a sad note. You want to end it up. This is stunning to me because I sent Aaron Suttles, who covers Alabama, a text yesterday evening asking him if he could be a part of today's show on this week, Alabama and their game with Auburn. I sent a text to Cecil Hurt because I saw on his timeline that he had contracted pneumonia and was not around and hasn't been around for the last couple of weeks, and people were wondering why. And somebody who was, I guess, close to him posted something on his Twitter page. Aaron Suttles just posted, "It is with sadness and heartbreak that I relay the news that Cecil Hurt passed today. Please pray for Cecil's family and friends and many who loved him dearly. I will love and miss you, my friend." He was very much somebody that covered Alabama football for a long, long time, and we wish his family and everyone else attached to him the best in trying to get through a very gut-wrenching day.
Yeah, that's somebody who I read a lot of his work in the SEC and Alabama in particular. Never knew him, but knew of his work most definitely and saw a lot of the respect that he had amongst his peers. So, sorry for his loss, for his family going through it, especially during the holidays.
I bet Tim Brando knows him, no question about it. Tim Brando, Fox Sports, is next, talking college football with us, Sikkim 365 Radio. Pioneer Steel and Pipe. 1943, that's when they opened their doors, and look where they are now. As good as ever, and they are building a brand new facility in Waco, and despite the fact that they'll be bigger, better, faster, and stronger, they will never lose sight of what matters to them and what matters to you, the customer. Making sure you're the happiest customer every time you walk through their front door and when you leave, and then also having the best product available when it comes to metal buildings, metal roofing, pipe, and steel, structural standard of what they deliver and what they have. And oh, by the way, they will deliver. They'll deliver it because it's heavy product to wherever the location is of what is being built, commercial or real estate, and also help unload it as well. Serving Central Texas since 1943. How can we help you? It's kind of their standard. The PioneerBoys.com is their website, PioneerBoys.com. Objective to make sure that you leave Pioneer satisfied and that you've been taken care of. What you need. This is how they've built relationships and business partners for, now 78 years. Imagine that. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan. New location being built in Waco at PioneerBoys.com.
At Allen Samuels in Waco, we're celebrating the Black Friday sales event. Ram, bringing the first truck brand to take the top spot overall in new vehicle initial quality by J.D. Power. With a new 2021 Ram 1500 Quad Cab Lone Star, you can get total values up to $7,250 or 2.9% for 72 months, plus $2,000 in bonus cash. All first responders get an extra $500 and no payment for 90 days at Allen Samuels in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness continues to add more weapons to your getting or staying in shape arsenal with 8 brand new treadmills ready for you to run or walk a mile or 2 or 10. And with the explosion of interest in pickleball with instructors Joe Rosa and Jody Thurman with more courts available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with large flat screens stretched across the weight room with Wi-Fi available, their own app to enjoy news, business, weather, or sports. Everywhere you look, there's energy, passion, and commitment. New touchless water fountains outside of each locker room, and all the locker rooms with showers, sauna, and whirlpool. Upgraded PA system throughout the world-class tennis courts with a youth academy led by pro Britt Coleman. Fitness and tennis merchandise available and a tanning bed. I promise you'll look and feel better. You just need to walk through the front door. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corley. 40-plus group exercise classes, including twice-a-week boot camp. It's time to react today, not tomorrow. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
Baylor
Scott & White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott & White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
The secret to living your best life is pizza, obviously. Golden crust made from scratch, 3 fresh signature cheeses, and the toppings, crispy old world pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, bacon. That's called a dream team. Find everything you need to live your best life and more at Marco's Pizza. Owner Bob Mock has been delivering pizza since 2001 and is the proud owner of 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to be open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
There it is. Touchdown. Tyquan Thornton yet again.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Ben Erlinson, who'll navigate you through today's financial climate. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, when we need some college football truth serum, we call and get in touch with Tim Brando, who's a great friend of the show. Fox Sports joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. I want to ask you, and Tim, you heard about the news. We had Cecil Hurd on. It's weird because I asked him to come on the show this week about Alabama and Auburn, and then just saw from Aaron Suttles that he passed. Your thoughts about Cecil Hurd?
Yeah, I've known him a long time, fellas, as a Southeastern Conference broadcaster for such a long period of time. I cut my teeth in that league. And I knew Cecil when he was just starting out. I think I'm older than he is, but I remember him when he was coming up. And the last of really his generation, I think. And you guys know a few of the others in Texas. You know who they are right away. Guys that are old-time beat reporters that followed their team. But when you're in a place like Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and there, the Tuscaloosa News, he was it. I mean, if you really needed to find out what was going on, he was the source. I mean, you knew that's the call you had to make. I tweeted out yesterday when I knew he was essentially on death's door that it was let's make sure we get some prayers to he and his family because he meant so much to so many for a long period of time. It's a big loss. I mean, it is. Especially for that publication, the Tuscaloosa News, but especially for those of us in the SEC that have been around for a long time, that felt like, if you really wanted to get the straight story, this is where you had to go to get it. And you'll hear a great deal more about it with this being Iron Bowl week, as we get closer to the game, and he's deserving of it. Whatever they can do to honor him, they certainly should. Great man, hell of a reporter. We went out at a time or two. because I took on Alabama quite a bit, and because he's listened, and he should have defended them. And he's Tuscaloosa, for crying out loud, and in so many ways, Alabama football. So he was really in that very small circle of trust that Saban had, and even prior to the time Nick got there, I'm sure Nick leaned on him when he got there to say, "Okay, now tell me about these guys. How do I work with these people I have to work with at the institution, and to get the lay of the land." Saban's smart that way. So it'll definitely affect Nick and a lot of other people of great influence at the capstone, no question.
All right, so Tim, tonight, the bad word, the four-letter word, the College Football Playoff Committee will get together. So how do you see and what do you expect? You know that they'll position a few people in just the right spots. Do you see them putting Cincinnati in the top four just because? They deserve it, they earned it, but again, just to kind of say, okay, we already did this once, and now we're done.
Spencer and I had a little debate about this. I don't know if you caught any of the end of our game. You guys were done in the afternoon. You might have been flying back home, so you didn't get a chance to see our game in prime time with Oklahoma State and Texas Tech. But it was a blowout, so we pontificated on it in much of the fourth quarter. He believed that Michigan would be put ahead of Cincinnati just because. And I think it's a decent, his point of view, I think, was worthwhile. The committee loves to promote a big game coming up. And by putting Michigan right behind Ohio State, you're making it a 3 versus 4 or a 2 versus 4. Okay. I frankly think Ohio State should be 2 and should jump Alabama based on the way they performed. But if you moved by virtue of what happened and the way Michigan had been propped up by the committee, even being ranked ahead of Michigan State, even though they lost to them, they could very easily put them in that spot instead of Cincinnati. But I'm with you. See, I think they love throwing bones to those, scraps to those teams like they did TCU and Baylor back in 2014. Yeah, we'll give you a little bit, but when it's really time, we're going to take it away. So, I think Cincinnati will be 4, but I do think they'll take it away. They'll find a way to take it away. And actually, the irony of all this, fellas, is it could be the Big 12 that takes it away from Cincinnati. If Oklahoma State, I think this is the only team that can do it. If it is Oklahoma State that runs the table, you see what these last 2 weeks have done for them. The Cowboys statistically are really looking like not just a Power 5 team, but they're looking like an SEC team, the way they're defending. And if they were to beat Oklahoma, and whether it's you guys that are in the championship game, which I think it could very easily be a rematch with Baylor, or I personally think that if they win out and they get to 12-1, Oklahoma State could be a way of getting Cincinnati out of there, and they could still at that point say, yeah, but they're not pure playoff privilege. This is a reach. No, we didn't let Oklahoma State in when they went 12-1 in 2011. So look what we're doing, and they probably want to get gratitude for doing it. That's what jumps into my head. I'm going to say Cincinnati, even though Spencer believes it would be Michigan, but I would think it would be Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama, Cincinnati, 1, 2, 3, 4. Spencer would vault Michigan up there, and he may be right. Just to promote, a better ranking for the game coming up, they might do that with Michigan. It really doesn't matter at this point. What does matter is what's going to happen at the end. And as I've told you guys, I think over and over again, an Alabama-Georgia SEC title game with Alabama losing on a field goal, on a walk-off, or anything remotely competitive, 2-loss Alabama gets in. 2-loss Alabama gets in.
And what will be interesting is if Georgia remains 1, which they should, they will, they won't put Alabama 4, really. They won't put them 4. They'll somehow, if they get in.
No.
Yeah.
They're No, they would put Alabama 3.
Yeah.
They find it, which is exactly, if you think about it, what happened. It was TCU, wasn't it? That was Baylor 5 in the final.
TCU was 3 and Baylor was 6, I think, even maybe 5 or 6, and then
they dropped them from 3 to 6.
Yeah,
yes, they dropped them from 3 to 6. But Baylor wound up in the 5 hole.
Yep.
In the last standings that were given. Yeah, and so I could see a big Alabama jump. Sort of playing the role of Ohio State, which is what they did, in 2014. You can certainly do the same thing with Alabama. Those two teams are essentially the Cowboys and Patriots of college football. They're the two teams that get the biggest ratings, Columbus, Ohio, and Birmingham, Alabama. I mean, they dominate, and they bring home the numbers for television. So any way they can find a way to get those two teams in, they're going to do it.
Tim, the coaching carousel continues to spin. James Franklin took himself essentially off, at least for the next couple of years, with that 10-year deal today. But Florida opened up this week. The precipitous drop for Dan Mullen was really kind of surprising, and how he even seemed checked out himself throughout this year on that program. Your thoughts on Dan Mullen and maybe even Billy Napier from your native Louisiana getting a shot at that job and what he might do?
Yeah, I think the big, and I know your fans don't want to hear this, but I do think that Napier and Aranda are the two hottest names out there right now, at least with the media, because the media is now trying to acquiesce to Jimbo Fisher because he's been so outlandish and so verbose about, well, no, I love it here. Why would I leave here? I got the #1 recruiting class. So they're trying to acquiesce to this. Many a hot name in the sports writing world nationally is trying to acquiesce. And I still don't think that's going to be the case. I still think Jimbo is going to be made to say no, and made to say no multiple times after this weekend. And, it just so happens, where's A&M going to be this week, right? So it's going to be quite a soap opera, with that being the final game in the Southeastern Conference, and the wheels are turning big time. I believe, and I especially felt this way after seeing your AD and talking with him in the radio booth with John the other day when I was doing the TCU game. I do think Aranda's wired differently. I do think he's more likely to stay at Baylor until he achieves his goals that he currently has with that program. And I don't know that he's going to get to the opportunity to achieve all those goals quite yet. So I believe he is wired a little differently and will stay. Napier is a different story because a lot of people thought that he was turning down all these jobs, the Mississippi State job, the Auburn job, the South Carolina job. Some implied that Tennessee was open. I don't think that was ever formally given to him. I don't think he got an offer there, but a lot of people thought he wanted the LSU job. And frankly, with some of what I've been hearing down in South Louisiana, I think he may be like, well, hey, if you guys just think in a condescending tone towards, me being at, Louisiana Lafayette, well, then I'll just go to Florida and take it out on you. Or he could go west. Some jobs are probably going to come open in the West beyond just the USC job, which I don't need to tell you is also where Aranda's been mentioned prominently as well. Billy, I think, would like to go out west. I think he would love an opportunity to be in the Pac-12 if it's at the right school. He's got some family out in Arizona, so that the potential of that is there. But I do think the hottest names, at least in media for the last 24 to 48 hours, probably in order, would be Napier and Aranda, and that's because of what happened with not just PJ Fleck now getting a contract extension, a lot more money, but also what happened with Mel Tucker and what it happened today and was just announced with James Franklin at Penn State. So there just aren't enough big names out there to fill all these big vacancies. You know, something's got to happen that's a little outside the box to shake things up. There's going to be a jaw-dropping hire, and my money is on Scott Woodward at LSU to get that done. He's done it before. You know, he got Coach Pete to leave Boise, a place that it looked like he would never leave, to go to Washington. He got Jimbo to A&M, and I think that he could pull lightning out of a bottle again. That's the only way for these names to shake out in a manner that you think they probably should. But I do think the dominoes do begin falling with whatever happens at LSU. I think that's the best job. And I don't say that because I'm from Louisiana. I don't. I say it because I really believe it. I think the best job available is the LSU job. You've had 3 national titles with 3 different coaches in the last 18 years. 2 of those coaches were fired. Okay. And the other is the GOAT. So you got to say that's a job where you can get in there in a short span of time, you know, win not just a national title, but multiple national titles if you're up to it. So, and that's the other thing. I do believe that the A&M job changes the moment, and I know they're down right now, but the moment Texas gets into the SEC, that A&M job takes on an all new meaning, all new feeling, and that's something I think Jimbo is going to have to be thinking about when he goes to bed at night. I mean, hell, he doesn't have to worry about money. He's got to be thinking about something, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're right, though, Tim. We've talked about that. I mean, the industry has recycled so many coaches at this point and fired guys so quickly that there's just not even enough candidates anymore to be able to fill these jobs. But
at least in terms of the people we know about,
right?
You know, the coaches that have, you know, the pedigree that you would think would make them look good to the pursuers that are out there, these athletic directors. But you know, the decision by Franklin and the decision by Tucker, and I don't know that he actually signed the contract, but I hope for his sake he did after what happened in Columbus. But I mean, if those 2 guys are off the board, you know, now we're looking at potential upsets out there, and there could be some guys that we haven't thought about. You know, I've even heard, and I know this sounds bizarre, fellas, but I've even heard Matt Rule's name being thrown around again. I have. Somebody want to go and grab that guy, get him away from the NFL. Maybe he's had a taste of it, knows that he can be successful, but I mean, I don't think you have to work as hard in college as you do in the NFL, fellas. I mean, I really don't. If you can make the same amount of money in a college job that you can at a pro job, I have no earthly idea why you'd want the pro job.
Well,
it's all about the way you're wired. I mean, that's got to be it. It's all about the way you're wired.
Well, one name that has been rumored for the LSU job, no matter what he said as well, not only Jimbo, but Lincoln Riley. And this weekend, Riley and the Sooners, number 13, Bedlam against Oklahoma State. If Oak State wins or Oklahoma wins, they're going to the Big 12 championship game. And Baylor's got to hope that Oak State wins, and then they beat Texas Tech to have a chance. But your thoughts on Bedlam? I mean, it's not often, Tim, that Oklahoma State's kind of the heavy favorite going in, but that seems to be the case this year. What do you think of what Mike Gundy's done, and what do you think of this matchup this time around?
Well, as you guys know, we've had Oklahoma State 3 of their last 4 games. We were joking that they wouldn't have to fit us for a letter jacket and send us some swag at the end of the year. And they played really well in the games we've had. I try to be fair-minded, I really do, but objectively, I just don't think that there's a better defense in the country besides Georgia. Other than Georgia, I don't think there's a defense in the country playing any better right now than Oklahoma State. And they've improved a ton, you know, since really, I mean, think about it. They're a bad spot. They're a bad spot on a 4th and 2 at midfield at Iowa State away from being undefeated.
Yep.
Really. I mean, they're that close to being an undefeated team. The thing they've got to overcome is this whole little brother, big brother thing in Bedlam. And, you know, Gundy told us, and without provocation, we discussed it before the game they had with TCU when we were there for that game a couple of weeks ago, right after TCU had upset you guys. And he was like, look, you know, we know we're good. We know that our situation defensively is better than it's ever been. Yes, we're playing complementary football. Yes, I've altered the way I like to coach offense because of that fact. But, we got a bunch of super seniors, and we got a bunch of 5-year guys, especially on defense. And, they know the story. They played in these games. We had chances to win championships and never did because we couldn't win Bedlam. So until we win that game, he's been really quiet about it. Okay. It really hasn't talked much about where they're ranked or where they should be ranked. I think there's more people like Spencer and myself that have been talking about it rather than him. And the whole reason for that was he knows what his record is against Oklahoma. It's not good. And this is one of the most one-sided rivalries in college football. So they got to get this thing done. If if you get past that aspect of it, that mental aspect of it, I don't see any way that Oklahoma offensively is going to be terribly effective because Caleb Williams is struggling in the passing game right now. And if Oklahoma State turns you left-handed by stopping the run. Unless Williams can just do it on his own with incredible, run plays as an extra running back, which, obviously he could do, he's really struggling throwing the football. And so much so that Rattlers come in the last couple of games. And, if you get to that point against Oklahoma State, I think they're good enough offensively to score enough points to win. I mean, they're not great shakes right now, but they are playing, I think, much more consistently. Spencer Sanders is not turning the ball over. So I think the Cowboys should win the game with relative ease. I really do. And that should set it up for you guys if you can take care of Texas Tech, and we've got a rematch there. That's how I see it. Okay, I've not thought that Oklahoma defensively was good enough to win a Big 12 title all season long, and I've not seen anything to change my mind.
Tim, we're up against the break, but I want to ask you one more thing. I know that this drives you crazy. It always has been very, very quiet how the SEC sticks non-conference games near the back end of their schedule. I saw you went off a little bit on that this weekend with the games. Yeah. It's not that you don't think those teams should get money games. It's that when they play those games. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and getting away with only playing 8 conference games in so doing. One of the reasons why we have this 14 playoff is because Mike Slive drew a line in the sand and said, yeah, we'll go to 4, but it's got to be the 4 best teams. It can't be the champions of conferences. You can make being a champion of a conference a point of emphasis, but it still has to be the 4 best teams. And he did that with the understanding that he was not going to change and go to 9 conference games. And every other league, I think maybe other than the ACC was playing maybe 8. I think that was the other league that was playing 8. Everybody else went to 9 games. And I mean, they absolutely are just arrogant about it. They have 2 awful weeks of games, and I'm watching every network running highlights of these games. No one is saying a word about why in the hell is Charleston Southern playing Georgia. I mean, in November. I mean, they're not even raised the point. I mean, clearly bat phones have been ringing from the suits at certain networks to their broadcasters. Hey, man, don't go there. Don't bring that up. Well, they're not going to tell me what not to say. I'm going to say it as it is. I'm going to say what I see, and it's garbage that they do it and they get away with it. That's the amazing thing to me is that it's a college football dirty little secret. At least in Louisiana, they'll play the schools within the state, like McNeese State or ULM, where I went to school. Played LSU last year. Played them pretty well, by the way. A couple of plays here or there, they might have had a chance to win the game. But it's just wrong. It's fundamentally wrong. And whatever we do moving forward with expansion, there has got to be some unification. I've been crying for a czar for college football for a long time. Well, it's clear that the egos of the conference commissioners won't allow for that, but at least they can get together and say to one another, okay, fellas, we need to have the same number of conference games, same number of non-conference games. And those games need to be played to fulfill a schedule, and also to keep their brethren playing at lower levels, in business. Those are games that are funding athletic departments at the Group of Five and at the FCS level. So I have nothing against the games being played. It's when they're being played and how the media is complicit with, at times when, we're playing games in November that are meant to be remembered, and these guys are getting, extra open dates with pads on. I mean, that's what this is. And it's just fundamentally wrong, and I'll continue to point it out until the cows come home. It's just like the situational ethics that you're going to be watching tonight. Okay? They will come up, they being the committee for the Invitational, with some cockamamie response that deserves a follow-up that is, rude, crude, and maybe unacceptable. But unfortunately, my colleagues over at ESPN can't go there. They can't say what they're seeing the way we can, and I will until we see expansion or until we see cameras in the committee room telling us and showing us why they're doing what they're doing.
I think I would faint if I heard anyone, our colleagues at ESPN say, "Did you just say?" And then whatever repeating they just said.
That the games
faint.
only play a partial role like last week. That deserved to be raked over the coals. I'm with you, Tim, all the way.
Yeah. Timbo, thank you, man. Appreciate your time as always. Always appreciate it.
Well, you know how much I enjoy coming on. Anytime. You guys keep sicking them and keep smoking them.
Thank you very much, man. Appreciate that. Tim Brando, Fox Sports, always with insight. Not everybody agrees with him, and he's okay with that, and we appreciate his time as always.
I wanted to pass this along real quick. Going on with the passing of Cecil Hurt, Greg Sankey, SEC commissioner, has come out with a statement in regards to Cecil Hurt's passing. Said, "I'm saddened to learn of Cecil Hurt's passing. Cecil was a leading voice in telling the story of the SEC for 4 decades. The relationships he built, his credibility with readers, his clarity in communication, and unrivaled wit made him a pillar of his profession. R.I.P. Cecil." So that was from SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey.
All right, thank you. That's sad. It's amazing the timing of that with the pneumonia, and also in this day and age with most likely some perhaps complications with COVID as well, but that's not something that I know for sure. When we come back, John McClain, Hall of Fame writer, Houston Chronicle on the NFL, 365 Sports and Sikkim 365 Radio. I went over and saw Ashley, Cheyenne. I don't think Carol was there at Don Humidor a week or so ago, and here's what they have. Holiday coffees have arrived. Holiday coffees have arrived. Coffee that makes a great gift for anyone that loves a good old cup of joe. And, of course, one of their more favorite, I guess you could say, taste flavors is the Cowboy. New cigars arriving every day for Christmas gifts, for stocking stuffers, or just for you if you want to smoke one. Brought in with Cohiba, Nicaragua, Cohiba, Connecticut. The humidor is filled, like it has been for the last couple of years, probably even more so, with cigars from every imaginable brand that you can think of, including Cohiba, the Nicaragua, and Connecticut. You also, if you don't know for sure the person you're buying a gift for that likes cigars and what's their favorite cigar, gift cards are there, and they never go out of style. Get gift cards at Don Humidor for any amount for whoever you're buying something for. Then they can walk in the door and get what they want. Tell Ashley, Cheyenne, and Carol that Smokey sent you. Don Humidor and Coffee Beans in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
It's time for some high school football. Berg Colgan Ford proudly celebrates the Panthers, Cadets, Lions, and all the Central Texas football teams as they march their way through the season and down the field. Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Berg Colgan Ford. We'd love to show you our Broncos, Raptors, and Mustangs. These vehicles are winners with their sporty options and designs. Nominate who you think deserves the Built Ford Tough Player of the Week at FordPlayerOfTheWeek.com. Visit us anytime at BKFord.com, making buying your next Ford simple at BK Ford.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Engel with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like instant issue debit cards free at all of our banking centers, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Nitchie Group Insurance Agency. With the Nitchie Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Nitchie Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Nitchie Group at 1-800-258-8302.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strips, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with John McClain of the Houston Chronicle, brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
John McClain, Houston Chronicle Hall of Fame writer, joins us on Tuesdays in the late part of the 5 o'clock hour, and he does again today. John, what is, in your opinion, going on with Antonio Brown, the vaccination, the card, or whatever with Tampa Bay? How deep will the NFL even dig into that, if you think it's true?
Well, I think it's absolutely true. The guy's got text messages, and that blows me away about Antonio Brown. He's such a moron. He's been in trouble so many times because he won't pay his bills. And this guy, he owes $10,000 for. He makes millions of dollars. He should have paid him. He didn't. And now the guy's going to get him. I just don't think that the NFL really cares about finding out. Because let's be honest, this could be widespread. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty easy to check them. But based on everything I read and heard about the way the Buccaneers did it, but they didn't call and check people. It's amazing. They let Aaron Rodgers off with a tap on the wrist. And if anybody is going to get the book thrown at him, it should be Antonio Brown, because he is a repeat offender.
John, it seems like a lot of effort to go through to defraud the system. Just saying.
Well, Paul, there's a lot of people defraud the system in a lot of different ways. Sometimes I think they do it just to see if they can get away with it. You know, you take Amari Cooper. You know, is he stupid? Is he stubborn? Is he a combination of? I love the way Jerry Jones and Michael Irvin went off on him because he's selfish. He could cost them a game or two. Aaron Rodgers, same thing, could cost them home field advantage. So in Antonio Brown's case, he's proved for years he's just an idiot. And I said when he went to the Raiders that you let a snake in your house, at some point that snake is going to bite you. And the Bucs deserve everything they get because they signed Antonio Brown because Tom Brady demanded it.
John, how surprising was the Texans win over the Titans this past weekend?
Craig, that wasn't surprising. It was shocking. I was wondering if they were going to score a touchdown. They had scored a touchdown on the road since September 19th, and they scored 2 on Tyrod Taylor runs. You know, when you're +5 in turnover differential, you should win the game. They got 5 turnovers, 4 interceptions, worst game of Ryan Tannehill's career since he moved the quarterback from wide receiver at A&M. And the Titans got a lot of injuries. Everybody does at this time of year, but right now they're still the best team in the AFC, but they're trying to hold off the Red Hot Colts, who are heating up at just the right time.
You know, this is the time of the year you start to play these games. Cowboys have this game. They had the game Sunday, then Thursday. They turn around and play another Thursday game, and it can get to be a wear and tear. You start to chalk wins and losses in each column. The extra week, though, you got 17 games this week. I know that's what they wanted. There's more money to that. How much of a crunch, though, do you think in the end will this be, that extra game?
No, I think they'll all be happy because it'll make, like I say, it makes the owners more money, and they have a trickle-down effect. What we got on Thursday, and I don't remember this happening before, every team is coming off a loss. You know, the game between Chicago and Detroit is enough to make you lose your appetite. I certainly wish it would make me lose my appetite, but it's one of the worst Thanksgiving games I can remember. Cowboys and Vegas coming off losses, Bills and the Saints. It's just so hard to figure, but it's still a tradition. We'll still watch it, and I'm fired up about it once I get beyond how bad all the teams played Sunday and Thursday.
John, what did you make of that Cowboys debacle in Kansas City?
The Chiefs have been playing better defense. I was surprised that they played as well as they did against the Cowboys on their offense, and they need to bounce back. They need to bounce back across the board, as you guys know, and they will. They're going to win that game. The Raiders have been terrible after 2 initial victories. After John Gruden was fired, I think the Cowboys will win this game handily, and I think if the Chiefs continue to play the kind of defense they showed against the Cowboys, they're a legitimate Super Bowl contender for a 3rd year in a row.
John, I was curious. I was reading an article earlier today about the NFL and St. Louis and, you know, the team owners and the trial beginning in January over the relocation of the Rams and Stan Kroenke and all of that. And there was an article that Charles Robinson put out about like the civil war that it could create amongst the owners. What are your thoughts on this and any potential impact that you could foresee it having in terms of owners or the NFL, what have you?
The NFL owners believe they have an ironclad agreement that Stan Kroenke signed in order to get their permission to move. And that was, if any money is owed from future lawsuits, he will pay it. Now there's stories that he's going to try to get out of it and find a way to not pay them. And boy, did you talk about creating problems? That would create a huge problem. And I can't imagine they're going to give them an expansion team. St. Louis will then have to come up with a multi-billion-dollar stadium, which they didn't seem like they wanted to do. But what the owners do not want to do, Jerry Jones, you think he wants to open his books? You think Stan Kroenke wants to open his books? No, it'll never happen. But right now, St. Louis is leading.
John McClain, Houston Chronicle, with us. John, as we look at right now, we've seen the Texans in that win, as you said, shocking win against the Titans. We've seen Washington beat Tampa, Denver beat Dallas. Is that just parity? Do we have a great team this year in the NFL?
Jaguars beat the Bills.
Yeah.
Jets beat the Titans. Sometimes it's Parody, but they like to call it balance. And sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. But it's sure going to make December and the first 2 weeks of January even more interesting than they usually are.
John, what do you think about Bedlam this weekend?
What is Bedlam?
What do you think about the Baylor Bears and that big win last weekend?
I think that was tremendous.
Yeah.
I hated to see Bohannon go down. Nobody I've ever seen comes back from a hamstring injury in a week. The key is they did a really good job stepping in under difficult circumstances, and I can't wait to see them beat Tech and then see where they go in the bowl game.
Thank you, John.
Sick 'em, guys.
There you go,
Happy
John
Thanksgiving,
McClain.
John.
Happy Thanksgiving. Well, I've had him on segments for years.
By the way, I want to, Armstrong, I hope I can get this tweet up to you quick here. But Des Bryant has commented on the firing of Jason Garrett.
Oh, dear God.
It is, nope, that's not the one. I'll just read it.
All right, go ahead.
Okay.
That'd be good.
Yeah. Anyway, after hearing the news about JG, Kadarius Toney, you will experience the joy and love in football your entire career.
God. Talk about somebody that won't drop it.
You talk about somebody who, is dying to stay relevant the last few years. Dez seems like an all right dude. He was a heck of a wide receiver at one point in time, but man, he's just never going to go away from the Cowboys, is he? Like, that's just going to be 20 years from now. He's going to be popping in like Mercury Morris talking about the Dolphins.
He's a season ticket holder. Has a suite there now, and he loves them. And he really does not like Jason Garrett. I mean,
clearly,
yeah. And
I don't think Jason Garrett was the problem for Dez ultimately, though. But
like, the two sides of the story are this: did Jason Garrett not use Dez every way that you could probably use Dez? Yes, that's true. Jason Garrett's offense was very
Dez friendly.
This is what it is. But this is what it is. And it wasn't going to get creative. But Dez also, at some point, and this is also probably the coach's fault, didn't develop that next level. When he lost that a little bit of burst, as he got older, he didn't develop like the other guys. Like
a fastball pitcher who learns how to throw an off-speed pitcher, too.
Tim Brown and Jerry Rice. I know those are great wide receivers, but as they got older, they ran routes better. They used their strength better. Dez didn't do that. He was just Dez.
Yeah, basically. I mean, you said that you put that on coaching. I mean, I guess coaches could have done that too. That's also on Dez. I mean, I think every problem Dez points to, Dez could also point right back at himself in probably 9 out of every 10 cases. But I mean, I can also understand not being the biggest Jason Garrett fan in the world. So wasn't in the room with those guys, but just point being that, man, Dez loves talking about the Cowboys. He really does.
He really does. Yeah, he's got them in his heart and soul. He really does. It's like talking about an ex-girlfriend or something like that.
Yes, it's very much what it's like.
Caden Grace on the chat room. The power of the committee, by the way, speaking as they have another week tonight, is going to erode in the next format. The strength of schedule may be a considerable data point yet again, instead of just opinions of guys in the room and who knows. And we're discussing that because of the SEC burying games late in the year. It's not that others don't play cupcakes. It's just that they get hammered for it early in the year. The SEC's playing some pretty good games, but so is everybody else. But then these games they play the last week or two, nobody even really acts like they're not playing Sewanee State or whoever it might be.
Yeah, I'm with Tim on that. It's not, people, when they hear you say something about it, they want to everybody else, and that's not, no. You're purposely not being truthful, because the point is not who they're playing, it's when they're playing. That's the thing, is when they are playing, not who they are playing. And I don't like it either. I don't like that you suddenly get drummed up for like this big conference impactful game. And I know that there's other, games that are going on, and there'll be, big games next week. But to be in like week 12 and just all of a sudden get like Seward State in the middle of this race is just, it's kind of silly. It really is. But what you will hear, and I'm sure we'll get on the text line, is, but it's the toughest conference and nobody has to play the gamut that they have to play. And that's why their 8 is equal to others' 9. And I've heard all that, and that's fine. That's never going to be an argument that ends. But I just think in general, no matter where you stand on it, me personally, I'm with Tim. I think it's lame to be playing those teams this late in the year.
Yeah. I mean, and does it really – did it help A&M to beat Prairie View 57-0 last week?
Absolutely
No,
not. No.
Not really.
All right, when we come back, Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55. This is Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Black Friday. It gets all the attention, but what about Truck Friday? Jay here from Pickup Outfitters, and we say enough is enough. AirPods? Good luck storing your tools in those things. Give me a toolbox, please, for $50 off at Pickup Outfitters. And a bathrobe is not going to keep your golf clubs or fishing poles covered up in your bed. You need to give your wife some help and send her to Pickup Outfitters instead. We got a truckload of specials for Truck Friday. WeatherTech or Husky floor liners, $40 off when you purchase a set. Free plug in the bed with every gooseneck or fifth wheel install. Spray in bed liners with a lifetime warranty, $75 off. ARE camper shells or DCU units, $200 off. $150 off amp research power steps. Catskin leather kits, $100 off. A complete list of specials is in our showroom. Truck Friday is 8 days only from Friday, November 26th through Saturday, December 4th. Pickup Outfitters, 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco. On the web at createacommotion.com/Truck Friday.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio with socially distanced seating for your enjoyment. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. State Fair tornado fries, nachos, and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
New cars and trucks are coming. New car inventory is low, but GM just announced they'll release a steady flow of vehicles through the fall. Now's the time to get your name on Richard Carr's first in-line priority list and get a car or truck first. Call Richard Carr Motors or go online to discuss cars and trucks in transit today. Go to richardcarr.com for more details.
At Richard Carr, we give you more.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55, presented by Champion Salon and Barber. To book your appointment, go to championsalonandbarber.com.
Top 5 intriguing rivalry games this weekend. It is rivalry weekend. And there are games that are intriguing on good ends and bad ends here. We'll start with the bad ones in 5 and 4, and then we'll get to the medium one, and then the 2 good ones. So that's where we're going. Number 5, the Apple Cup. Washington State versus Washington. This game did not get played last year because of COVID. And the 2 coaches in it didn't really get to coach in it because now they're both fired, and they're both these are interim coaches in the Apple Cup.
Yeah, how about that?
Yeah. It's been a different, you know, Nick Rolich got fired because he wouldn't adhere to a vaccine mandate, and Jimmy Lake got fired because, from what we heard from Softy, he was just out of control.
Yeah, and Washington State remains a job, and Washington as well, where there's not a whole lot of smoke that I've seen, especially Washington State. I mean, I've read hardly next to nothing on them and their search compared to the others. Washington, obviously I've seen Aranda's name bounced around there and maybe 1 or 2 others, but it seems like a lot of the focus is on LSU and USC, and rightfully so, because those are the jobs that could cause other dominoes to fall. But, hey, Washington State's got a chance to play for a Pac-12 title. They got a lot riding on this game because of that. They've been the better team all year. I think it's a great opportunity for Wazoo to jump up and grab one in the rivalry game. And if they don't, then, boy, what a massive missed opportunity for them. But yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see this game and then the fallout from it and where both these schools head as far as their new direction.
Yeah. Number 4, FSU and Florida. This game doesn't really have a name as far as I know. All the other ones have names. But FSU and Florida, both these teams are 5 and 6. And I can just tell you, someone who loves this rivalry and loved going to the game, I would sleep outside to get my student tickets at night, which we did. I promise you nobody's doing that now. I guess they changed the system, but nobody would sleep outside for a matchup between 2 of 5 and 6 teams, one of them who just fired their coach. And it is amazing how this game is for bowl eligibility. That's how far what was once one of the best rivalries in college football, and probably the best in terms of for about 7 to 10 years, in that the winner of this game was probably going to play in the national championship. So it was the most relevant rivalry in college football as far as the national picture went, and now.
Yeah, it's shocking. I mean, there are certain games you would set up your schedule for during the year, during weekends, during days. And that was one of them. Miami and Florida State was that was the game of the year for a long time, and not anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably end up watching this just because it's FSU, Florida, but I really have no desire to see this game.
It's on at 11, so Texas Tech and Baylor, that's the other thing. It's an 11 o'clock kick.
Yeah, I'm more interested in what happens after versus what happens during, quite frankly. But, I mean, it is interesting that, somebody's going to have a little extra time for the 2021 season with bowl practices and all that, which would obviously be a big deal for Mike Norvell. I wanted to ask you, by the way, are you a believer in him now?
I'm not I was on RJ Choppy's show on Saturday the other day, and he asked me about if I'm a believer, and I said if I was in a parent-teacher conference with Mike Norvell, if I was talking to his parents, I would say, listen, I'm happy with Mike's potential. He's got to work on some things, but let's work and move forward. I'm confident that he's doing the right things. It's just, how patient will people be with him to fix what was a pretty big mess that he walked into.
Let's put it this way. They may win and should win Saturday. At the same time, they at least have been competitive down the stretch. Mm-hmm. They've had a couple of nice wins. Boston College, he's fine. They're trending in the right direction.
Yeah.
All right.
Number 3, the Egg Bowl. Look, this one right here, pretty interesting. And look, I think Ole Miss will win this game and probably win it handily, but Mississippi State's been playing a lot better. Will Rogers has been having himself quite a go the last few weeks. So really interested to see Kiffin and Leach squaring off in a bowl of personalities for the coaches, if nothing else.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those games where the coaches are probably more interested in the teams, but, hey, the teams are pretty good, too.
Yeah,
I mean, I've really enjoyed – I've watched more Ole Miss than I have Mississippi State, but I've watched the Bulldogs. They're a good team, and you mentioned their quarterback. He's having a hell of a year. But, yeah, Ole Miss is a lot of fun to watch. this will be fascinating just because of the Kiffin-Leach chess match, and not even the outside the line stuff and the press conferences that we may get as a result of this game, but just the chess match itself within the game and the pure hatred a part of this rivalry as well. I wonder if anybody's going to pretend to be a peeing dog this year. Whatever other crazy things have happened in the Egg Bowl. But, yeah, this is always a must-watch.
It's two good football teams, you know?
It is.
Mississippi State's beating some good people.
I really didn't mind the peeing dog thing, but
I'm just saying that the
quality trash talk.
This is one of those games where even with two good teams, like the coaching matchup is still more interesting than those two teams.
Exactly.
Yeah, no question.
Yeah. Number 2, the game, Michigan and Ohio State.
Number 2?
Number 2.
Oh, okay.
Hey. Number 2. Look, this one's big for, and we heard Angelique Shingelis earlier. She said it. There's a very high likelihood that after this game, Jim Harbaugh will be 10-2. And Michigan fans should be thrilled with 10-2. The problem is the 2. It's Michigan State and Ohio State. Yep. So this is really intriguing that if he can get this done, he'll put himself in. They'll put themselves in the college football playoff more than likely should they win again the Big 12 title game or the Big 10 title game the next week. But if not, I mean, this will just be another data point for Ohio State as they move on towards what inevitably looks like them back in the playoff.
This is if you were the coach at Texas and you lost every year to Oklahoma and Texas A&M and went 10-2.
Yeah.
You would be really, really good, but you wouldn't be there very long because that's just not acceptable. Although they beg for those days down in Austin right now.
Well, I'd be interested to know who they're going to get, who's going to do that. Who's going to win 10 games and beat Ohio State that you think you're going to go and get.
There you go.
And I know that with all these coaching jobs opening up, that Jim Harbaugh would be a very quick call for a whole lot of schools if that were to be the case. But,
and some NFL teams,
Yeah,
too.
Lloyd Carr ain't walking through that door.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or Bo Schembechler.
Or Bo Schembechler, yeah. Number 1, Bedlam. This is probably the last time this game's going to be played in Stillwater for the foreseeable future. Maybe they get it worked out. It doesn't seem like that's in the offing once OU leaves for the SEC. And even if they do get it worked out, one would think that it would be one of those things that 10 years from now they find openings on the schedule and sign a contract. But this is huge in the fact that Oklahoma State has not won this in a while. Craig said yesterday in the show that nobody on the Oklahoma State roster, no matter how super a senior you are, has experienced a win over Oklahoma. There is a specter around it. But right now, Oklahoma State is the better team.
Yeah.
And Oklahoma State should win this game. And if they don't, I would think that the ghost of Oklahoma past is maybe one of the things that chumps up and bites them.
Yeah, unless there's like some 8th-year senior that I missed out on. No, they have not experienced a win in that series. I mean, Oklahoma, it's like Tim just said too. I mean, it's not piling on to say that Oklahoma's owned this series. It's just straight facts. But this does have a different feel this year. Some people would probably say Ohio State, Michigan's bigger, but I think, Bedlam is just fine at number 1. There's a lot of impact coming out of this game, and I think at night in Stillwater is going to make it a really juicy matchup. I'm very curious to see how this game goes down. Ohio State, Michigan will probably be the sexier game to watch, I would think, but then again, maybe not. I'm just thinking of Ohio State's offense versus these other offenses. They are far and away the better offense of the 4. But this one right here, this should get nasty, and I'm looking forward to it.
As we cover Baylor and Texas Tech, keeping an eye on Ohio State and Michigan, and getting to go home just in time to watch Bedlam, along with a few others, will be fantastic. Paul, great stuff as always, man. By the way, the Earl Campbell Tyler Rose Award winner this week is quarterback Frank Harris at UT San Antonio. Good for him. And if you go on to Sikkim365.com and use the code BF2021 right now, an annual premium membership is just $35, a 72% discount off the yearly rate as we head into the holidays. Thanks to Armstrong Sims and also Jack McKenzie, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak. Thank you. Chat room, texting, calls, everybody, our sponsors. We love doing what we're doing, and we hope you enjoy it and love it as well. This is Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Good night.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.